subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The room after saying that. Then washed his face and rinsed casually. Rinse his head with gargle water casually, and then put on his clothes and run out. The whole process took less than 3 minutes. Let's go. In Xiang closed the door and said to Tian Tian. In Xiang and Tian Tian came to the gate of Konoha together. Kai, Ningxi, and Xiao Li were already waiting here. After seeing In Xianglai, the four of them set off. Now, it's been a long time since I saw Naruto. Niji said on the way. That's right. Xiao Li nodded and said beside him. He's grown a little bit. Tian Tian also said. This mission is very dangerous. You must be careful and try not to fight with the other person alone. In Xiang explained to them. In Xiang, whose memory began to be erased, can't remember too many things now. I can remember that the scorpion of Xiao Xiao's organization was killed this time. After the scorpion was killed, Ah Fei took his place, and Ah Fei was Obito. Naruto and others also entered Sandine Village at this time. Naruto and others who learned that Kankuro was poisoned immediately rushed to the medical room. As a result, Kakashi was also mistaken for his father by Chiyo, and they immediately told Kaka. West shot, completely giving Kakashi no chance to explain, was stopped by her brother before she gave up the attack, and the reason she shot was because Konoha White Fan killed her son. After Sakura started to heal Kankuro, Naruto and Kakashi waited outside, because they needed to get the opponent's intelligence and direction from Kankuro. Otherwise, there was no way to continue tracking. End of this chapter, Chapter 116, Chase the Akatsuki Organization. Chapter 116, Chasing the Akatsuki Organization. After a simple cut, Sakura identified the toxin in Kankuro, stunned the crowd in Shine, and then began to heal and asked other medical ninjas to prepare what they needed. And then Sakura began to extract Kankuro. Toxins in the body. The pots of clean water were turned into pots of toxins by Sakura, and it took a long time to out all the toxins. So Kankuro was not in danger, and Sakura was exhausted. Although it is said to be all, it is impossible to remove all of them. There will still be some residues in the body. It is necessary to remove all these toxins. After that, Naruto and the others also got a reply from Tsunade, knowing that In Xiang and others had come to support them, and their hearts were somewhat relieved. Naruto was also looking forward to seeing Neji and others, and Kakashi also came from the horse. He learned something here. After Kankuro woke up, they realized what was going on. They also took the corner of the scorpion mask from Kankuro's puppet. The dogs pursued. The development of the antidote was also time-consuming. It was not until the evening that it was developed, and Kankuro was completely cured. Although Naruto was anxious to pursue him, it was already late, and the ninja dog had not yet determined the location of the place, so they could only rest in Shine Village for one night. Tian Tian, you're tired. In Xiang handed the kettle to Tian Tian and said to Tian Tian, a few people sat under the tree to rest. After all, they had to sleep at night. In Xiang, is that really a very dangerous organization? Tian Tian took the water bottle and said, snuggling into In Xiang's arms. Yeah, In Xiang nodded nonchalantly. So when confronting them, you must be careful and don't walk away from me. You feel dangerous, and you still want to protect me. Tian Tian looked up into In Xiang's eyes and said, I want to hurt you unless I die. In Xiang smiled and said to Tian Tian, it's so nice to have you. Tian Tian smiled sweetly, then opened the kettle to take a sip of water, got into In Xiang's arms, and closed his eyes to get ready to sleep. Tian Tian fell asleep without the other group. Rushing the way day by day, Tian Tian was really tired. Seeing Tian Tian falling asleep in his arms, In Xiang couldn't help hugging Tian Tian's hand tightly. There are more people who protect their lives. Early the next morning, when In Xiang and others continued to run away, Parker landed in front of them. Naruto and the others also set off. Parker had already determined Gar's location, but when they were about to go with Sandy Ninja, they were stopped by Maggie. Sandy's people came to support. So in desperation, Sandian's people could only stay, but there was one person they couldn't control, and that was Chiyo. So only Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura, and Chiyo went to Akatsuki's place. On the way, Naruto and others also learned from Chiyo for the first time that there are more than one-tailed beast and nine-tailed beasts. There are nine-tailed beasts like this, and all countries use tailed beasts as weapons of war and want to compete with each other. At the request of Kakashi, our 8 ninja dogs formed 3 separate formations to track Akatsuki's scent, and then we found that they had gone to the country of Sichuan between Konoha and Sandian. Parker said to In-seong and others, "The country of the river?" Niji said, "That's right." Parker nodded. "That is to say, the people closest to Akatsuki right now are all of you who rushed to Sandian from Konoha village." Ah, after hearing it every day, my heart skipped a beat. "So, it is." Shally nodded and said, "Follow me. We'll talk about the details as we go," Parker said. "Okay, let's go." Kai also nodded and said, What? I'm leaving now. Every day is too tired. I want to rest all the way." "I'll carry you." In-seong couldn't help but put Tian on his back, and then followed, but after In-seong and others left, a person appeared in the tree in the original position. Absolutely, he had already found it. In-seong et al. The enemy has approached us. In the cave of the river country, Akatsuki's people were drawing a tail, Ju said, and Gaara kept howling in pain. Enemy. Deidara was stunned for a moment. It stands to reason that no one should be able to find this place. And he is a master of quite a standard. His name is Matt K. And there is another person, Konoha's Black Flash, whose name is Insolo In-seong. I have to sigh about the ability to collect information, even no one knows about it. In-seong's surname can be found out. "So who are they?" Tiandao Pain said. "Matt K is Konoha's Jnin, good at taijutsu and quite strong. You'd better not underestimate him." Itachi said aside, "I turn out to be that rare beast." The ghost shark also teased aside, and it is estimated that he will never forget this rare beast in his life. "The other one," Pain said, "he is the Black Flash of Konoha, who has been in the limelight in the past 2 years. He is the descendant of the Insolo family, the adopted son of the 4th Hokage. He is good at wind and thunder ninjutsu, and has many powerful ninjutsu created by himself." "Flying Thunder God," Ju said. Itachi knew nothing about In-seong. "Use that technique," Pain said after listening. "Then let me go. I can't find anyone, and I'm in a hurry." Fade One said. "No, let me go. I have a little personal grudge with him," said the ghost shark. "Yeah, even in Akatsuki's organization, that technique is only suitable for you who have the most chakra," Ghost Shark. Jiao Du said aside. "Yeah." Ghost Shark smiled. "Even so, 30% of chakra is consumed." "Really? I can finally avenge the revenge of the day," the Ghost Shark said with a smile. In went to this side and was following Parker at high speed. Parker sniffed the smell in front of him and found that someone was approaching. "What's wrong?" Kai said after seeing Parker's reaction. "Someone is approaching," Parker said, and after hearing it every day, he jumped off In-seong's body and ran with him. "If this drags In-seong down, it will be bad." Blind eyes. Niji opened his eyes and began to investigate. Behind. Niji turned his head suddenly and said, "Everyone stopped." Behind them, a white object moved underground and then jumped from under their feet. The ground jumped out, and everyone quickly jumped off the spot, all unscathed. The ghost shark rushed out of the ground and stood in front of In-seong and others. End of this chapter, Chapter 117. The lightning escape that restrains the ghost shark. Chapter 117, the thunderbolt that restrains the ghost shark. "You are..." Kai frowned as he looked at the ghost shark in front of him. "What's the matter, Mr. Kai? Do you know him?" Shally looked at Kai and said, "Who?" Kai looked at the ghost and said. At the same time, Itachi also appeared in front of Naruto and others. "Dried persimmon ghost shark," In-seong said, looking at the ghost shark. "This guy's chakra is very huge. It's the first time I've seen such a huge chakra, except for Naruto." Niji looked at the ghost and said, "Is it so amazing?" Shally said after hearing Niji's words. "You really don't remember?" Ghost Shark looked at Kai and said, "You, could it be?" Kai looked at the ghost shark, his eyes widened. It seems to have already remembered. The ghost shark saw Kai's reaction and thought that Kai had remembered, with a smile on his face. Did you meet me? Unexpectedly, Kai's next sentence made the ghost's smile freeze on his face, gradually becoming a little embarrassed. After being silent for a while, the ghost shark bowed slightly and was ready to make a move. It seems that the head of your precious beast is also of the level of a beast. It doesn't matter. I will help you recall it right away. Be careful. He is a dry persimmon ghost shark, a rebel of Wuin, and has a chakra comparable to a tailed beast. Yin Xiang reminded everyone that Yin Xiang's memory was incomplete, so he didn't know that the ghost shark in front of him had only 130% of the strength is not a real ghost shark. I didn't expect you little brat to know a lot. Ghost shark looked at Yin Xiang and said with a smile, "You are the Black Flash of Konoha, right? You are really famous. Is this Akatsuki?" Niji looked at the ghost shark and said. The ghost shark smiled, and then threw the muscle in the air. Water escape. Burst water. The ghost shark faced the ground and spat out a huge amount of water, like an ocean wave, rushing towards Yin Xiang and the others. "I'm going to shoot," the ghost shark said as he stepped on the waves. Ah! Tian was also startled when he saw the huge wave. Yin Xiang frowned when he saw Tian was startled. "Ninja! Lei Zong!" Yin Xiang took out the quenching thunder around his waist and inserted it into the blasting water wave on the ground. He raised on his hand, and the huge lightning was injected into the blasting wave. In the whole blasting water wave, the shock wave began to generate thunder and lightning, and the ghost shark quickly jumped out of the burst water shock wave. The blasting water wave also dissipated with a bang, dispersing like a river. So that's the case. Has Lei Dun used it to such a degree? The ghost shark also knows that water can conduct electricity. With the way he rushed up just now, plus his current strength is only 30%, that move may be possible. It will directly knock him back to his original shape. If you were here, I wouldn't be able to make a move, said the ghost shark. Dare to let Tian be frightened. Yin Xiang gripped the thunderbolt, looking at the ghost shark and said, Yin Xiang. Looking at Yin Xiang every day, he didn't expect such a small reaction to make Yin Xiang angry with this person. Lei Dun. Yin Xiang added Lei Dun to Kuwisheng and threw it towards the ghost shark. Kuwu instantly reached the ghost shark's side. Flying Thunder God Slash. Yin Xiang instantly appeared in the ghost shark with a knife. Behind. Oh, is this the god of thunder? Yin Xiang turned his head back, and the ghost shark also held the shark muscle in his hand. The bandage on the shark muscle was broken, and Yin Xiang's attack just now hit the shark muscle. Above, the ghost shark's reaction was very fast, and when he saw Yin Xiang's shot, he used his shark muscle to defend. The Konoha Whirlwind. Shally also kicked over at this time, kicked the ghost shark's shark muscle, and kicked the ghost shark far away. Bagua Empty Palm. Neji also shot, and hit the ghost shark with a gossip empty palm, and this time it hit the ghost shark's muscle to the side. Look at the trick. Tian also threw a big iron ball, and the ghost shark blocked the iron ball with one hand. But the iron ball exploded in the next moment, and Tian put a detonating symbol on it. Is there a hidden weapon on it? The ghost shark suffered a loss. Chidori. Yin Xiang rushed up again, and the Chidori attacked the ghost shark. The ghost shark put the shark muscle in front of him, blocking Yin Xiang's Chidori, and then the Chidori in Yin Xiang's hand disappeared. Yes, the chakra was swallowed by the shark muscle. Yin Xiang's ninjutsu disappeared. Tian looked at Yin Xiang's hand and said, Strong smash. Kai rushed towards the ghost shark, kicked the ghost shark up, and then Tian and Niji continued to attack, but it was completely useless. Water escape. Ghost shark was a little too busy to deal with 5 people by himself, so he used water escape, which was a surprise, trapping Neji, Xiao Li, and Tian who were rushing towards him in the water prison. Inside the technique, Yin Xiang also relied on the flying thunder to escape this water prison technique. Seeing that Tian and the others were trapped, Kai also immediately went up to fight the ghost shark and successfully captured the ghost shark's shark muscle. He picked up the shark muscle and attacked the ghost shark. At that time, thorns grew on the handle of the shark muscle, blocking Kai's attack, and the shark muscle also fell from the hand. Tian. Seeing Tian being trapped in the water prison and suffering so much, Yin Xiang was also anxious, but the water body of the ghost shark rushed towards Yin Xiang and fought with Yin Xiang, making Yin Xiang unable to move forward. These little devils are beyond my expectations. The ghost shark took back the muscle, looked at Kai in front of him, and said, "This way no one will disturb us to fight." Ninja. Thunderstorm. A mass of thunder and lightning appeared beside Yin Xiang, which successfully forced the ghost shark's water body back. Hit him, and the water body was also scattered by Yin Xiang. Kai took out his weapon Nunchaku and went to fight the ghost shark's body. Yin Xiang and others knew that since Kai took out his weapon, it proved that the enemy was quite difficult to deal with. "Get out of the way." Yin Xiang jumped high, punched the ghost shark's 3 water bodies, and smashed all 3 water bodies out. A big hole appeared on the ground. This is Yin Xiang's strange power. The 3 water bodies were knocked out, and Tian and others' water prison technique was also lifted, and they successfully escaped. Cough, cough. Tian fell to the ground and coughed a few sips of water out of his mouth. Tian, are you all right? Yin Xiang supported Tian and said, shaking his head, indicating that he was all right. "Stay here." Yin Xiang saw that Tian was all right, nodded and said to Tian, and then ran to the body that was fighting with Kai. The 3 of them fought together every day. "I didn't expect you to defeat my water body so quickly. It's really strong." The ghost shark slammed his shark muscle to Yin Xiang, who was rushing towards him. Yin Xiang jumped back a distance, dodging his attack. Preview of the next episode. Yin Xiang, I'm fine. Don't be so angry. Kurama, don't affect my mood anymore. Asshole. Next chapter. The Art of Elephant Turning. End of this chapter. Chapter 118. The Art of Turning Images. Chapter 118, The Art of Image Turning. Yin Xiang's thunder escape is a very troublesome existence for ghost sharks. As long as Yin Xiang is there, the ghost shark cannot use his water escape to cause a wide range of attacks, and Yin Xiang will hurt himself. Although this is not the main body, delaying time is also one of his tasks. If he can defeat the opponent, he will naturally defeat the opponent. Water escape. The technique of water shark bullets. The ghost shark made a mark on his hand and slapped it on the ground, forming a water vortex. From the vortex, a shark rushed towards Yin Xiang. Although the ghost shark's burst of water was not right, Yin Xiang and others caused damage, but still created a side of the ocean below. So the ocean under Yin Xiang's feet is 5 meters deep. It can be said that the chakra volume of the ghost shark is really huge. Touch. Yin Xiang clenched his fists and punched the big shark bullet, directly dispersing the water shark. Kai also continued to attack the ghost shark. The 2 fought hard, but the ghost shark still took the opportunity. He used a lot of water to get out of his way and blocked Yin Xiang. 8 gates Duanjia. 6th gate. Jingmena opened. A powerful chakra erupted from Kai's body, and the surrounding water was swept into the air. Kai was serious this time, and Ningxi and others also took advantage at this time. After defeating the ghost shark's water body, Yin Xiang also killed the water body standing in front of him. That bastard, I can't spare him. Thinking of Tian's uncomfortable appearance just now, Yin Xiang could not wait to rush to the ghost shark to shred it. But at this time, Kai had kicked the ghost shark in the sky, used the facing peacock, and kept using the fist slammed into the ghost shark, and there was fire around it like a fireball, and finally kicked the ghost shark out. Yin Xiang, I'm fine. Don't be so angry. Tian ran to Yin Xiang's side and grabbed Yin Xiang's arm and said, Yin Xiang lost his mind again because of his own affairs. Usually Yin Xiang was so calm, but now because of myself, there's only anger. Yin Xiang looked at Tian smiled at Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang, calm down. Am I affected by my emotions again? Yin Xiang looked at Tian and finally calmed down, patted his head. Kurama, what are you doing? Yin Xiang shouted to the Kurama in his body. Recently, he was on a mission with Tian. Unexpectedly, Kurama became more and more fond of Tian, the hostess. Angry, when the Kurama gets angry, it will affect Yin Xiang's mood. I accidentally made an old problem again. Jiawei touched his head embarrassedly in Yin Xiang's body. If you were affecting my mood like this, I can only seal you, you know? Yin Xiang said seriously to Jiawei. Isa. Nine Tails pouted and said, Wind escape. Spiral shuriken. Just when Kai kicked the ghost shark down, Yin Xiang threw another spiral shuriken at the ghost shark, hitting the ghost shark firmly and knocking him out. The whole body is divided into two parts. With the huge chakra provided by Nine Tails, Yin Xiang can now use the spiral shuriken with ease. Although I said so, I can't stand him bullying Tian Tian. Yin Xiang said softly in his mouth. Done. Tian Tian shouted, looking at the ghost shark split in two in the air. The ghost shark landed on the ground, and the huge sea water around it gradually receded. This was because the fireball that Kai shot just now. The heat directly evaporated the ghost shark's water escape. It seems that the outcome is already decided. Parker also stuck his head out from behind a rock and said, although he wanted to help just now, but with Parker's strength alone, he couldn't help the battle. At the same time, Naruto also used the Taitama spiral pill, which knocked Itachi out in front of him. The two of them shouted almost at the same time, and then used the upgraded version of the spiral pill, but they used a different technique. It does feel like you have fought somewhere on the floor. Kai and the others gathered around the ghost shark's body, and Kai looked at the ghost shark and said, Really don't remember? Xiaoli asked. The other party seems to know Mr. Kai very well. Tian Tian also looked at Kai and said, What is going on? At this time, Niji looked at the ghost shark's face, and his face actually changed. This guy is... Kai was also stunned at his face. This is not a dried persimmon ghost shark. Yin Xiang looked at this face and finally understood this is not a ghost shark at all. What is going on here? Xiaoli looked at the corpse and said, I don't know either, but what is certain is that this man really doesn't know him. Kai looked at the corpse and said, Yin Xiang couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Don't you use your face to recognize people? Not only Yin Xiang, but Itachi, who was defeated by Naruto, also became the face of someone else. And this person was also the ninja of Sandine, the spy arranged by Scorpion, Yura. Did he use the transformation technique to transform? Xiaoli said, No, it's not that kind of simple ninjutsu. Niji was still looking at the corpse with white eyes. While Tanmin was still studying the corpse, the main body, which was sitting cross-legged in the distance, also opened its eyes. Looks like it's over on your side, too, the ghost shark said, and the two opened their eyes almost at the same time. Well, I ran out of chakra. Itachi nodded and said, About 30% of the chakra used on the victims, although it is a convenient ninjutsu that can create our parallel body, but the amount of chakra allocated is not much. The technique is also limited. The ghost shark turned back and said to Itachi, But it's enough to delay time, Itachi said, and then the two of them turned their thoughts back to the cave where Gaara was sealed. In the cave, the third eye of the outsider golem was about to open. It means Akatsuki has already obtained three-tailed beasts. After defeating Uchiha Itachi, who was like Zanjuan, Chiyo told Naruto and the others about Hiroshima. Now Naruto finally knew that he was a personal pillar. After Sakura heard that Naruto was a human pillar, she was also very excited. Nervous Naruto, she didn't want Naruto to be a weapon of war. End of this chapter, Chapter 119. Enter the final stage. Chapter 119 enters the final stage. Kurama, if I pull you out of my body, will I die? Yin Xiang suddenly thought of this question after contacting Xiao. If one day he is found to be Renjuli, he is accidentally pulled out. After the 9 tails, will he die? You will die, Kurama replied without hesitation. As long as you can use my chakra and I live in your body, then you will be a human Julie, and if I separate from you, then you will die. Fortunately, I have hidden you well all these years. Yin Xiang said with a sigh of relief. It would be really bad if an organization like this was really targeting him. A few people killed the ghost shark of the elephant turning technique, and they continued with Parker. The more Yin Xiang experienced the plot, the more he could recall the plot. He had already thought about it. By the time they arrived, Gaara was already dead. Well, this ghost shark just came out to delay time. Ju, go and dispose of the corpses of the 2 people who were used for the elephant turning technique. Pain said to Ju. I see, Ju said, and immediately went to dispose of the body. Itachi, tell me their numbers and characteristics. Pain continued to look at Itachi and said, a team of 4 consisting of Hatake Kakashi of Konoha, Sakura Huno, Naruto of Kataranjuli, and Advisor Chiyo of Sandine. Hearing Itachi said Chiyo, Scorpion was also stunned for a moment, but Chiyo also came, and it was just such a stunned thought that caused Scorpion's death. In Xiang here, Kai was also a little tired from opening the 6 doors. Although he said that he was fine, he still slammed his head into a tree. It doesn't look like it's okay at all. Tian and the others fell from the tree and looked at Kai and said, no way, we just used Chow Peacock. We'd better find a place to rest. Ning Si looked at Kai and said, so in desperation, everyone could not hurry. In Xiang also took advantage of this to be fake and used medical treatment. Ninjutsu healed several people. Naruto's side has also temporarily rectified, waiting to go to contact with the Shao organization tomorrow. A few people have been hurrying, and the state is too bad. This rest is one night. Tian sleeps peacefully in In Xiang's arms, and because he is close to the enemy, someone needs to get up and take turns to watch the night. Naturally, In Xiang did not wake Tian, but kept the night for Tian. To say the hardest is the group of people like Shao, who have been extracting tailed beasts without sleep for the past few days. Okay, the rest is over. Kai suddenly opened his eyes and shouted in the middle of the night, waking up several people. Now it was Niji's turn to watch the night. Mr. Kai, are you all right? Shaoli looked at Kai and said, well, already in good spirits. What a refreshing wake-up, Kai said with a thumbs up to Shaoli. Ningji. Parker looked up at Niji, who was vigilant, and signaled if he could continue on his way. No problem. My recovery speed is amazing. Niji nodded and said, well, Parker also nodded, then looked at Tian. The rest is... Tian, get up. In Xiang patted Tian's shoulder in his arms and said softly. Tian snorted, rubbed his eyes, and looked at In Xiang in a daze because he was very at ease in In Xiang's arms. So even if it was I slept very hard every day outside. Huh? What's wrong? Tian looked at In Xiang and said, we're going to continue on our way, can you? In Xiang said to Tian, well, I'm fine. Tian nodded, stood up from In Xiang's arms, and then everyone stood up. Okay, in order to make up for the time lost by rest, we have to move forward twice as fast. Kai looked at everyone and smiled. Huh? As soon as Tian woke up, he heard Kai say this, and he almost fell asleep again without being frightened. He was moving at full speed along the way. A girl every day was not as physically strong as them. No, we have to move at 3 times the speed, so we can arrive before the scheduled time. Shaoli said with his fist beside Kai. Okay, everyone, it's a rare opportunity. Let's move forward at 4 times the speed. Kai stretched out 4 fingers and said after listening to Shaoli's words. Ningji was frightened. A drop of cold sweat fell on Tian's head, and In Xiangdu rolled his eyes. Oh, what's wrong? Kai said after noticing the expressions of the 3. It's impossible no matter how you think about it. Niji said helplessly. I've said it many times, don't do this trick again. Tian also spread his hands and shouted. If you have to travel like that, I will put the mark of the god of thunder on you, and I will go there when you arrive. In Xiang also said, Mr. Kai, that's why I said to use 3 times the speed. Shaoli said after hearing the complaints of several people. Lee, that's not what we said. Parker couldn't help but complain, and then the 5 of them were still on their way in the middle of the night at the previous speed, and it wasn't too long before dawn. And the Akatsuki organization has also entered the final stage. It will be dawn soon. In Xiang and others, Naruto and others are still on their way, and they will soon reach their destination. It's really uncomfortable, Niji said suddenly. What's wrong with Niji? Shaoli looked at Niji and asked. The enemy? Tian also asked. No. On the contrary, the enemy's breath can't be felt at all, which makes me a little puzzled, but they don't hesitate to use that kind of ninjutsu to delay our time. Niji shook his head and said, so there's no need to delay us anymore. Tian said hesitantly. Is it too late? Shaoli also said. Naruto also realized this. Thinking of what happened to Gaara, Naruto became even more anxious, and even his eyes became the eyes of Nine Tails. Looking at Naruto, who was so anxious, Chiyo was also a little puzzled. So Kakashi explained Naruto to Chiyo and told Chiyo that Naruto was Hiroki, the same hero for Naruto. Gaara is a partner who understands the same pain. End of this chapter, Chapter 125 Seals. Chapter 125 Enchantments. It's almost over, Pain said, looking at the eyes of the outsider golem whose pupils had begun to appear. Gaara also began to lose consciousness. Although it was explained from the beginning that he didn't know, at least he could still feel the pain. I don't even feel the pain anymore. The outsider golem drained the last drop of Gaara's chakra, and the pupil completely appeared in the eyeball, and Gaara also fell to the ground, already a dead person. It still took 3 days and 3 nights. Deidara put down the hand of the knot and said, "It's like this every time, it's really annoying." The ghost shark also put down his hands and said, "Ah, the shoulders are going to freeze." Idean said, while pinching his shoulders. "Everyone has worked hard." Pain looked at them and said symbolically. After a while, Yin Xiang and the others finally landed in front of the cave they were in. There was a huge boulder blocking the entrance of the cave, with forbidden characters stacked on it. "That's right here," Kai said, looking at the boulder. "Gaara is behind this rock." Parker nodded and said, "It looks like an enchantment." Kai stepped forward and said, "What should I do?" Tion said, "Let's rush in." Shally shouted at Kai. "No." Kai shook his head, then turned his head. At this moment, Kakashi and the others also arrived. "It's so slow, Kakashi." There was a little trouble on the way. Kakashi stood up and said, "Naruto, Sakura." Shally was very happy to see the two of them. "Kakashi, the trouble is not referring to me," Chiyo said with a glance at Kakashi. "Big guy." Naruto raised his thumb and shouted to In Xiang and the others. In Xiang noticed that Naruto's eyes were now red, and the 6 beards on his face had become more conspicuous. Everyone is 1 step ahead. Xiao Ying and others walked in front of In Xiang and others together. Xiao Ying said, "Who is this mother-in-law?" Tian looked at Chiyo and said, "It shouldn't be Konoha. This is the mother-in-law Chiyo, Sandian's advisor." Sakura introduced Chiyo to everyone. "Please take care of me." Chiyo seems to be very old, but she is still very cheerful and optimistic and smiled like a scissor hand. "Then let's do it, Kakashi." Kai looked at Kakashi and said, "Yeah." Kakashi nodded, and everyone looked at the rock behind him. "Naruto, why are you here? Their goal is you, don't you know?" In Xiang walked in front of Naruto and shouted to Naruto because he was too worried about Naruto. What if something happened? "But I love him." Just as Naruto was about to speak, he was interrupted by In Xiang. "Even so, you can't take such a risk. You know, Naruto." In Xiang shouted to Naruto, and everyone was surprised when they saw In Xiang's attitude toward Naruto. Except for Kakashi, of course. Naruto was also stunned by In Xiang's 2 roars. I know." Naruto, in a ghostly way, counseled In Xiang. "Don't rush up. Stay in my sight at any time. If something happens to you." In Xiang put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and added the flying thunder god technique to him. No words were spoken, but what In Xiang wanted to say was, "If something happens to you, how can I explain to my parents?" "Well, I understand." Naruto nodded again and said, his eyes also changed to their original appearance. "Then let's do it, Niji, look inside first." Kai said to Niji. Ningji nodded, and then looked inside with his white eyes. It seems to be a rather large cave, but I can't see it very clearly, and I can't grasp the exact situation inside. It seems that there are several people. "Neji, Gaara? How about Gaara?" Naruto shouted to Niji. "Wait a minute, I'm looking." Niji searched for Gaara everywhere in the cave and saw Gaara lying on the ground. "Niji," Naruto shouted anxiously. "Don't rush me," Niji said to Naruto, then continued to observe the situation in the cave and slowly closed the eyes of the outsider golem. "What? What's the matter? What's in it, Niji?" Naruto asked anxiously, shaking Niji's body. "Let go of me," Niji first said to Naruto, who let go of Niji's arm. "What did you see, Niji?" Sakura asked. I can't express it in words. Niji lowered his head and said, thinking back to the huge thing he saw just now. That is to say, I can only confirm with my own eyes. Xiaoli looked at the rock and said, then it's easy. Kai patted Xiaoli on the shoulder, then rolled out a long distance, then rushed up and punched the rock, but the rock was unharmed. Enchantment? It's getting lively outside, Pain said, feeling the change in the enchantment. Looks like reinforcements have arrived. The ghost shark said with his arms crossed. Where's the reinforcements? Is it the gang that Big Brother Ghost Shark delayed? Or, Datara asked. It turned out to have arrived. Ju said after investigating the situation outside. We arrived at the same time by coincidence, but it's a pity it's a little late. I heard that there is another person, Julie. Hee, don't blame me, Itachi. Scorpion smiled and apologized to Itachi because he wanted to rob Itachi's mission target. Outside, Kai reluctantly walked back to the team. What should I do? Xiaoli asked when Kai's attack didn't work. First of all, this barrier must be removed, Li. Kai looked at Xiaoli and said, how to remove it? Tian asked, what kind of barrier is this? It is necessary to find out first. Sakura looked at the rock and said, yeah, okay, nodded, then turned to look at the rock. Then, first of all, we must find out the type of this enchantment, right, Kakashi? What do you think it is? Chio said next to Kakashi. Probably 5 enchantments, Kakashi said. Same. Chio nodded. 5 seals. Naruto looked at them suspiciously. The 5 seals are formed by pasting the forbidden characters on the surrounding 5 places. In addition to the forbidden character in front of you, there are also 4 other characters, which must be posted on the 5th place. Only when the talisman is removed at the same time can the barrier be lifted, In Xiang explained to them. And In Xiang, who had been in contact with the barrier in Umbu, also understood this. Well, that's right. Kakashi nodded and said, does it have to be done at the same time? Xiao Sakura looked at In Xiang and said, that's right. If you can't remove all 5 cards at the same time, the barrier will not be broken. This is the first one. In Xiang nodded and said, into this chapter, Chapter 121, Position of the Paper. Chapter 121, the Location of the Talisman. There are 4 more. Kai looked up at the talisman and said, where are the other 4 talismans? Naruto looked at In Xiang and asked. In Xiang shook his head, then looked at Kakashi. Then Kakashi looked at Niji again. Ningji. Understood. Niji nodded, opened his eyes, and began to look for the talismans around him. After looking around for a while, Niji also found the location of these talismans. I found them. Niji, where are you? Naruto asked quickly. On a rock about 500 meters away from here in the northeast. The second one is on a tree trunk on the bank of the river 350 meters south-southeast, and the third is about 650 meters in the northwest. The last one is in the woods about 800 meters to the southwest. Niji said while looking around. In this case, the distance is not too close. What about the signal? Sakura said after listening. Don't worry about that. Kai took off the backpack from his body. At this distance, the radio should be able to be used. Kai took out the wireless earphone from the backpack and said, radio. Naruto was also very happy to see it, so he could send a signal. Then, while listening to Niji's command, keep in touch with each other to find forbidden characters. Kai said with a thumbs up, showing his white teeth. We're going to take action too. It's getting lively outside, and we also have to complete the task of capturing the power of the human column. Jiaodu said in the cave. That's right. Ju also said. What about the group of people outside? Jiaodu continued. Whether it is possible to enter this place is still unknown. The ghost shark laughed. Don't underestimate them. You should also understand. Itachi said looking at the ghost shark. It's a bit brute force, I agree with that. The ghost shark said with a smile. Scorpion, Deidara. It's up to you to clean up the guys outside. Pain said looking at Scorpion and Deidara. Sure enough, this is the arrangement. Deidara had already prepared for this arrangement. It's just that Renjuli must be captured alive, Pain said. After all, he still underestimated the opponent's strength. It would be fine if other ninjas came, but Kakashi, Kai, and In Xiang came, it would be different. Now, these 3 can be regarded as Konoha's strongest genin. I know. Scorpion nodded and said, but he really couldn't tell if his puppet body nodded. The others disbanded. Pain said, "Let's go." Fade once said diagonally. "Yeah," Xiao Du replied, and the images of the two disappeared. Itachi, what kind of guy is the nine-tail man, Julie? Scorpion looked at Itachi and asked, but Itachi didn't speak because at this time Itachi had seen the special power in Naruto. If he was there, he would Sasuke can be saved, and if he dies here this time, tell him. Pain looked at Itachi and said, then left. Itachi thought about it for a while and finally decided to believe that they could kill these two people, and then spoke up. The first guy to roar loudly is him. Huh? What is this? Scorpion was very puzzled. He had never been in contact with Naruto, and he didn't know what Naruto would do. Is there no other more specific features? Deidara also looked at Itachi and said, but Itachi disappeared immediately outside the cave. We will remove the 4 talismans around us. In terms of speed, our team is faster. Kai, Ningxi, Xiao Li, Yin Xiang, Tian Tian, 5 people, said while putting on the radio. Kai turned to Ming. People and Kakashi gave thumbs up. Kakashi nodded. Then please. Naruto also said with a thumbs up to Kai. Okay, Lee goes to the rock wall in the northwest. Kai said to Xiao Li, yes, Mr. Kai. Xiao Li said while putting the forehead guard on his forehead. Ningji, the rocks in the northeast will be handed over to you. Kai continued to say to Niji, understood. Niji nodded and sorted out the radio. Then Tian Tian and Yin Xiang in the south-southeast direction. Kai looked at Tian Tian and Yin Xiang again and said, understand. Tian Tian nodded and said, yeah. Yin Xiang also nodded. The rock wall in the southwest is up to me, and it must be attached to the hardest place to reach. Kai said, looking southwest. What's the channel? Kakashi asked, adjusting the radio. 174. Kai replied while looking at Kakashi. Got it, Kakashi said, then tuned the channel to the same. Everyone, can you hear me? Xiao Li suddenly took a deep breath and shouted into the radio. Everyone's ears were stinged by Xiao Li, and there was a buzzing sound in their ears. Li, your voice is too loud. Tian Tian covered his ears and said to Xiao Li, saying that covering his ears with headphones didn't seem to help. I'm so sorry. Xiao Li shouted again, and everyone's ears were shaken again. You bastard. Yin Xiang punched Xiao Li on the head. Just come once. Yin Xiang took off his earphones and rubbed his ears. Sorry. Xiao Li hurriedly turned down the volume of his earphones and said, after doing a strange youth cheering pose, several people quickly dispersed. Why you have to follow? If the barrier is opened, wouldn't you be able to help them more if you were there? Tian Tian said to Yin Xiang on the road. I'm afraid you're in danger. It's okay. I added the Flying Thunder talisman on Naruto's body, and we'll go back as soon as the barrier is opened. Yin Xiang said as he ran, and the two ran to the top of the rock wall together. Confirm the content of the battle. After the 5 of Kai Ban find the talisman, they will stand by and wait. After all of them are found, listen to my instructions and remove them all at the same time. Do you understand? Kai said at this moment. Everyone made it clear. Of course, Kakashiban has to be removed at the same time, so that the 5 enchantments can be unlocked. At the same time as the barrier was untied, Sakura destroyed the rock at the entrance. Using this as a signal, she suddenly took Gaara back. Kakashi said, and at the same time they were already in place, they busy outside, Scorpion and Deidara inside were impatient. Soon Yin Xiang and others were already in place. They found the position of the talisman paper and put their hands on the talisman paper. Listen to everyone. Take off the talisman together by counting 1, 2, 3. Let's begin. End of this chapter. Chapter 122, Replica of Keben. Chapter 122, a replica of Kaiban. 1, 2, 3. Kai counted to 3 over there, and then the 5 tore off the talisman paper at the same time, and Xiaoing also punched the rock, breaking the rock, and successfully opened it. Entrance. But just as Yin Xiang and the others were about to leave, a person emerged from the rock wall in front of them, in the grass, in the water, and in the trees. They were all themselves, but there was no Yin Xiang, Kakashi's side. The 4 entered the cave, and as soon as they saw Gaara, Scorpion, and Deidara, Gaara was seated under Deidara's butt. So, which one is Renjuli? Deidara looked at the four in front of him and waited for the first one to shout. Seeing that Gaara was dead and was sitting under Deidara's butt, Naruto couldn't calm down. His eyes turned into the eyes of Ninetales again, and he clenched his fists. "You bastards!" Shattered to pieces, Naruto shouted towards the arrival and the scorpion. "The first guy to roar loudly is him," Scorpio said while looking at Naruto. "It seems so, Deidara also looked at Naruto and smiled. "The enemy's trap?" Tian looked at Tian in front of him and said, "It seems that only one can be created in a place." Inxiang looked at the fake Tian in front of him and said, "Lay done." Pseudo-dark. Inxiang directly concluded facing the fake Day, was a bolt of lightning spit out from his mouth. Lightning hit fake Tian and directly turned fake Tian back into a puddle of water. "This is how I look. How can you bear to take action?" Tian pouted and looked at Inxiang and said, "Then I'll be with her." Inxiang looked back at Tian and smiled. "Then you go," Tian said to Inxiang, then crossed his hands and turned his head away, pretending to be angry. "Okay, now is not the time to be petty. Let's support Teacher Kai and the others," Inxiang said while holding Tian's shoulder, and Tian also nodded, but now is not the time to joke. At this time, their battle had already begun, and they also found that the strength of the other party was the same as their own. "Inxiang, don't come to support us. Go to support Kakashi and the others immediately." Kai heard Inxiang here. "I know that Inxiang has solved Tian. Is it okay with your side?" Inxiang said to the radio. "As expected of my replica, there is a set." Then Inxiang heard Kai say that he was already fighting the replica. "It's okay. Go quickly." Kai then said to Inxiang, "Okay, Tian, let's go." Inxiang nodded and said to Tian, "Go and help Mr. Kakashi and the others." "I'll help Mr. Kai and the others. In this case, both sides can be faster. After we finish here, we will go to your side to support them." Tian said to Inxiang. Inxiang was stunned. After a while, I still agreed. That side is more dangerous than this side. "Okay, then be careful." Inxiang nodded and said he was alive. "Okay." Tian nodded. Inxiang's figure disappeared in front of Tian and came directly to Naruto. When Inxiang arrived, Deidara was standing on his big bird and was about to fly out. "To die." Earth flow wall. Inxiang directly used the earth flow wall to block the entrance of the hole, preventing Deidara from going out. After Solo unsealed Inxiang. Naturally, Inxiang also learned more ninjutsu. Deidara threw clay out of his hand, blasted through the wall of the earth flow, and flew out from the hole. "Bastard, stop for me." Naruto immediately chased after him, because Gaara was in the mouth of the big clay bird. So the anxious Naruto didn't even notice Inxiang and ran out. Sakura, mother-in-law Chiyo, Inxiang, this guy is up to you. Kakashi immediately chased out, stopped halfway, and said to Inxiang and the three of them, "Well, I see." Sakura nodded and said, "Brother Kakashi, you stay here. I'll help Naruto." Inxiang looked at Kakashi and said. Kakashi froze for a moment, then looked into Inxiang's eyes, nodded after a while. Yes, if Inxiang is here, he doesn't have to worry about Naruto, because Inxiang will not let Naruto have an accident. After Inxiang nodded, he immediately chased out. Kaiban's side is still fighting hard, but every day he runs to support. Niji's side is now a lot easier to fight 2-in-1. After Inxiang chased out, they both stood on the pillars in front of the previous cave, looking up at Deidara, who was flying in the air. Deidara was hovering high in the air. Inxiang and Naruto had no way to attack at all. To him, wind escape, spiral shuriken. Inxiang stretched out his right hand. The spiral shuriken appeared in Inxiang's hand. Inxiang was about to throw it at Deidara. Naruto saw the spiral shuriken in Inxiang's hand. Although I was curious about what it was, I stopped Inxiang immediately. Gaara is still on top. This will hurt him. Naruto grabbed Inxiang's hand and shouted, looking at Inxiang and shouting. Inxiang gritted his teeth, which was true, and then put away the spiral shuriken. But this can't attack him at all. "Ha! You must be the Black Flash of Konoha. You are so famous. Let me see it." Deidara looked down at Inxiang and said, "Okay, Come down, I'll give you a good experience. In Xiang said, looking at Deidara. Come up if you have the ability. Is Black Flash only capable of that? Deidara also looked at In Xiang and said, What? The disciples of the 3 generations of tying. Do you only hide in high places and shout? I don't think you have any skills. In Xiang looked at Deidara and was excited. Lanung sprayed himself as a Zwan man. What? You bastard. Deidara was really stimulated by In Xiang, and her face began to twitch. Ha! Deidara threw a group of clay birds from the air and flew towards In Xiang and Naruto. Come over. Chidori flow. In Xiang used Chidori flow directly, and all these clay birds fell to the ground and lost their effect. The most feared thing for his clay was Lei Dun. As expected, Thunder Ninjutsu is very strong. Deidara looked at In Xiang and said, Chidori. In the cave, Kakashi also used Chidori to charge Scorpion, and the battle inside began. I love Luo, let me rescue. Naruto shouted, jumped from the pillar, punched Deidara. Deidara threw a clay, threw it at Naruto, and threw Naruto directly blasted into the rock wall. Really, it's messed up again. In Xiang looked at Naruto and sighed. Thousands of sharp spears. In Xiang stabbed Deidara with a lightning bolt, and Deidara hurriedly manipulated his big bird to hide, open, and fly away. I absolutely can't spare you. Naruto climbed out of the rock wall and shouted to Deidara, Wait, Naruto! Calm down for me. In Xiang reluctantly chased after them, and the two gradually away from the cave. End of this chapter, Chapter 123, The Disappearing In Xiang. Chapter 123, In Xiang Who Disappeared. Deidara used a bird to fly in the air, and the speed was so fast that Naruto couldn't catch up at all, and even In Xiang had difficulty chasing him. Naruto, I will rescue Gaara. You calm me down. In Xiang shouted to Naruto, who was beside him. But I can't catch up with him at all. Naruto shouted to In Xiang. I have a way to catch up, but you calm me down first. In Xiang said, punching Naruto on the head. You hit me again. Naruto grinned at In Xiang and shouted, I'm no longer the kid you bullied me a few years ago. Is your boy rebellious? In Xiang looked at Naruto. This guy became more and more disobedient. He still listened to what he said before, and the two quarreled while running. It's none of your business. Naruto shouted to In Xiang and then increased his speed. Deidara threw a few bombs in the front and back. Seeing that it was about to blow up Naruto, In Xiang also accelerated to catch up. A few thunders were thrown out, all of them stuck on the bombs, and all the bombs lost their effect. It's abominable. That kid is my nemesis. Deidara frowned and said after seeing it, and then continued to speed up and run forward. Originally, he wanted to use Gaara to lure Naruto out and then take it far away. Let's go. Naruto killed it, but I didn't expect In Xiang to follow. You obey me, Naruto. I will give you an explanation for why I care about you. In Xiang ran to Naruto and said to Naruto, I understand. After Naruto heard In Xiang's words, and In Xiang helped him just now, he gradually calmed down and his eyes turned blue again. There are not many tasks. It can be said that there are almost none. The first one is to chase Sasuke, and the second one is to support Sandhidden. And only this time, it was the first time the two fought together in the true sense. His original plan was to lead you away and fight you at a distance, but now my Thunderbolt has restrained his clay. So his plan has become to escape. Just give me a chance to meet him. He can't escape, so don't be so anxious. In Xiang said to Naruto, as long as the mark of the Thunder is added to Deidara, Deidara will have nowhere to escape. I see. Naruto nodded and said. At this time, the two of them were thrown into the canyon. In the middle of the canyon, there were always trees across the canyon and embedded in the stone walls. It is hard to imagine such a place, but this is also a good opportunity for In Xiang. In Xiang jumped to the highest crossbar, and he was much closer to Deidara than before. When done, big breakthrough. In Xiang stimulated the cells with Lei Dun chakra, and the speed became very fast. He suddenly jumped out from Naruto's side, jumped into the air, and then faced a big breakthrough behind him and increased his speed again. By himself, he jumped directly onto Deidara's big clay bird. Good job. Naruto shouted when he saw this scene. Just now, he saw a thunder light beside him suddenly disappear. He didn't expect In Xiang's speed to be so fast. What? Daedara was stunned for a moment and then shouted. He didn't expect that he would jump on top of his big clay bird in this way. Daedara swung at In Xiang with one punch. In Xiang's current speed, but it was very fast, and he immediately ducked sideways and then punched Daedara on the body, knocking Daedara directly and flying out. The strange punch is not a joke. How could Daedara withstand such a punch from In Xiang? He fell from the air and slammed into the woods not far away. Drink! Daedara fell to the ground. On the ground, a mark was formed on his hand, and In Xiang exploded at the big bird under his feet. In Xiang, Gaara! Naruto shouted after seeing the explosion, and then saw In Xiang rushing out of the smoke with Gaara in his arms. Cough. I didn't expect him to detonate. In Xiang fell on the tree trunk, put Gaara on the tree trunk, coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood. The back was already blown up with blood dripping, and the clothes were tattered. In Xiang, you. Naruto still chose to worry about In Xiang at this time. It's okay. In Xiang shook his head. Jue has already started to restore In Xiang's back injury. Death is impossible. I will kill him. I will give you Gaara. In Xiang stood up from the trunk, and then immediately jumped into the woods to look for Daedara's figure. And in the cave, because Tian helped Ningxi defeat Ningxi's replica, and then the 2 went to Xiao Li. The 3 defeated Xiao Li's replica, and then the 3 went to help Kai together. So this time, they quickly returned to support. 7 people in the cave were fighting around Scorpion alone. Scorpion had already been beaten and was forced to show its original form, and also used the red secret skill and 100 machines to perform. Hundreds of puppets were fighting Kakashi and others in the air. Scorpion was really at the end of the game this time, and Tian was worried about In Xiang. So he chased in In Xiang's direction, and when Tian arrived at In Xiang's side, saw Naruto, he was kneeling beside Gaara in a daze. Naruto, Tian fell beside Naruto, saw Naruto in a daze, and saw Gaara's body, and understood. Are you all right? Naruto, Tian patted Naruto, said on the shoulders. I love him. Gaara is dead. Naruto looked at Tian and said, watching Naruto's reaction every day, he lowered his head and didn't know what to say. Don't be so sad. We will give me love Luo's revenge. The battle in the cave is almost over. Where is In Xiang? Tian said after a while. In Xiang? In Xiang has been chasing that person. It's been a while. Naruto then realized that In Xiang has been gone for a long time, but he hasn't come back yet. Is there something wrong? After all, In Xiang was also injured just now. Pursue? That means, has In Xiang defeated the enemy? After listening to it every day, he thought happily in his heart. After all, Naruto is very sad now, and he can't show his happiness. No, In Xiang is seriously injured. Let's go find him. Naruto stood up from the ground and shouted to Tian. What? Tian was stunned for a moment, and his happiness was gone. Where? Where did In Xiang go? In the woods over there, let's go. Naruto looked at Tian and said, then put Gaara on his back, jumped into the woods, and Tian quickly followed. Preview of the next episode. The blood on the ground belongs to that Daedara and In Xiang. Tian. In Xiang, where have you been? How are you? Next chapter. In Xiang's blood. End of this chapter. Chapter 124. In Xiang's blood. Chapter 124. In Xiang's blood. In Xiang. In Xiang, where are you? Tian looked for In Xiang's figure everywhere in the forest, and both of them came to the pit where Daedara was smashed. But not only In Xiang. Daedara the figure was not found. In Xiang, where are you? Naruto carried Gaara on his back and looked for In Xiang everywhere, but the forest around the opportunity was all searched, and In Xiang was not found, not even Kakashi and others. It was all over, and after searching, In Xiang was still not found. So now they're all gathered around Gaara's body. Although they are in different positions, they are still here. Granny Chio exchanged her life for Gaara's life. The people, Sandy in support, has arrived. Although everything has ended, Gaara saw the ninja covered in sand beside him, and his eyes were full of worry and excitement that Gaara was alive and finally found that he was no longer alone. Although Gaara, they were very happy when they were resurrected, but they were not happy at all every day. Gaara, it's great that you can wake up. Naruto looked at Gaara and said excitedly. Ah, Gaara nodded blankly. Just woke up. Gaara didn't even know what happened, and didn't even know that he was dead. Wait a minute, don't you care about In Xiang? In Xiang hasn't been found yet. Tian shouted in the crowd, and the shouting crowd quieted down. It was In Xiang who saved Gaara. They all know this, but now the excitement of Gaara's resurrection has made them forget about In Xiang. Now shouting out every day to make them all quiet down. For a while, this group of people fell into silence. We'll disperse to look for it immediately, and we must find In Xiang. Kakashi said to everyone, Gaara, let your people go to In Xiang too. Yeah, Gaara stood up from the ground. A group of people sent Granny Chiyo back, and the others dispersed immediately, looking for In Xiang's trace, the black flash of Konoha, and the photos you've all seen. Iai Luo said to everyone that in order to imitate Konoha's training method, he naturally had to show them the first photo of Konoha's Ren In Xiang. Yes, Shayan's people replied, and then they all dispersed to look for In Xiang's trace. Kakashi and others immediately searched. Kakashi asked Parker to smell In Xiang's things, and then look for In Xiang. The traces of Tian and others followed Parker, and several people came all the way to the forest where Deidara smashed the pit. The smell is completely gone here, Parker said, smelling the middle of the pit. Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura, Kai, Niji, Shaoli, Tian, Gaara gathered here. There is blood there. Tian looked at the middle of the pit and said. Parker went up to smell it, then froze for a moment. There's that Deidara is here, and In Xiang's. Parker looked back at everyone and said, In Xiang him, did something really happen? Tian clasped his hands together, his eyes filled with worry. It's all my fault. I didn't go with In Xiang. Naruto lowered his head and said, if he had gone with In Xiang at that time, In Xiang would not have disappeared. It's not your fault. You're also worried about Gaara doing this. Kakashi patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, Kakashi was also very worried about In Xiang and also knew In Xiang. It was precisely because of Kakashi Cassie knew In Xiang. So he believed that In Xiang was not in an accident. In Xiang will not be in an accident. He is Flying Thunder God, and he can run away no matter how bad it is. However, In Xiang put the spell of the Thunder God on us. If it's all right, one has come back now. Tian looked at Kakashi and said, In Xiang added both to himself and Naruto. After the spell of Fei Lei Shun, if In Xiang was really all right, he should have returned long ago, but now, it is almost dark. Yeah, Kakashi nodded. That's true. That is to say, In Xiang's current situation is not optimistic. Then what do we do now? Shaoli said, looking at the blood on the ground. We can only wait. Niji shook his head and said, Sorry, it's all because of me, In Xiang. Gaara also lowered her head and said, On the way, Gaara already understood the cause and the process of the incident. Don't blame yourself. Let's go back to Shine Village and wait for 2 days. If In Xiang does not come back, we will continue to investigate thoroughly and report this matter to Hokage-sama first. Kakashi said to Gaara. Yeah. Everyone nodded. In Xiang, where are you? Looking at the blood stains every day, he panicked. Why didn't you come back immediately when you were in danger? Everyone couldn't find In Xiang's trace, so they could only go back to Shine Village temporarily. In Shine Village, they would recover their physical strength, heal their injuries, rest, and at the same time think about where In Xiang went. Will In Xiang be taken away by Zhao's people? Kai asked Kakashi. Probably. Kakashi nodded. I can't use Flying Thunder God. I'm afraid chakra has been sealed. Maybe someone has plotted against it. That is to say, if we want to find In Xiang, should we find Xiao? Shaoli looked at Kakashi and said, But we couldn't even find Xiao. This time, it was because of Sha Yin's incident that we had the opportunity to contact Xiao. Our information should not be enough for us to find Zhao's location, let alone In Xiang. Shaoli said, How come? Is there no way? Tian lowered his head and said, Now we can only trust In Xiang. he will definitely be able to think of a way. Kakashi sighed. Kakashi, who grew up watching In Xiong since he was a child, of course knew that In Xiong was ghostly, and he has always had a brain. It is very powerful. In Xiong will definitely be able to think of a way. He will definitely be able to. Kakashi prayed in his heart. The sky was getting dark, and everyone returned to the room that Gaara had arranged for them. Every day they were alone in the room, looking up at the moon outside the window, with worry in their eyes. In Xiong, where are you? Where? How are you? End of this chapter. Chapter 125, Uchiha Itachi's Rescue. Chapter 125, Uchiha Itachi's Rescue. At this moment, In Xiong was in a cave, surrounded by a small amount of flames illuminating the cave. You're awake, then leave. A voice came from behind In Xiong. Hum, 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 this stingy life is really big. A strange whisper also sounded from behind In Xiong. In Xiong looked back. In the darkness, there are red clouds and black robes, and the most conspicuous is the pair of riding wheel eyes flashing under the flames. Uchiha. Itachi, dried persimmon ghost shark. In Xiong looking at the two of them, he got up from the ground, covered in injuries. When I went to Deidara's location, I didn't expect Deidara to detonate him. Such a large-scale explosion made In Xiong get involved without the time to use Fei Lei Shun, and was directly blown out. It should have been blood and blood by then. You rescued me? In Xiong said, looking at the two of them. Mr. Itachi is determined to save you, but I really want to cut you to death. The ghost shark said with the shark muscle on his shoulder. Thank you, Itachi. In Xiong stood up from the ground, looked at Itachi, and said, Deidara isn't dead. It was his clay clone that exploded, and the main body has been rescued. Itachi stood up and said, You have been in a coma for a day and a night, and they are looking for you everywhere. Yeah, we can't stay here for too long. It would be miserable if we were found out. The ghost shark also nodded and said, This time I'll take your favor back. Itachi said, and left the cave with the ghost shark. What kind of human relationship is it? That was 10 years ago. That year In Xiong was 8 years old and Itachi was 13 years old. It was when Itachi exterminated the clan. In Xiong discouraged Itachi, but Itachi had already made up his mind and the persuasion was ineffective. In Xiong can only tell Itachi about Sasuke's future, but he didn't expect this unintentional act to change his life now. In Xiong's abdomen was aching. He looked down, his abdomen was a piece of flesh and blood. This is because Itachi used Ku to scrape off the charred skin of In Xiong's body that was blown into charred flesh before. This is the ghost shark said. In Xiong's life is really big. If others were bombed like that, he would not be able to live a long time ago. In Xiong's ability to survive is also thanks to Jiwei. If Jiwei didn't release the tail beast coat at the last moment to protect In Xiong, and then use chakra to heal In Xiong and save In Xiong's life, In Xiong would have died long ago. Breathed. Thank you, Kurama. In Xiong said to Kurama, You are too careless. I almost jumped out of the fight with Uchiha Itachi and the two people. If I hadn't heard Uchiha Itachi say to save you, I would have been exposed. Kurama said to In Xiong, Well, I'll pay attention in the future. I won't spare him next time, Deidara, the bastard. In Xiong gritted his teeth and said, And now he has only a pair of trousers all over his body, and he has been blown from 9 points to 5 points. Pants like a beggar, even more pitiful than a beggar. Your injury will last for a month. Even if I heal you, you have to rest for a month. Kurama said to In Xiong. In Xiong nodded. Lend me some chakra first. I have to go back to Tian Tian and the others. Got it. Jiwei nodded and gave In Xiong the chakra. I'm tired too, Jiwei said with a sigh. Flying Thunder God. After In Xiong got chakra, he immediately came to Tian Tian's side. He had no strength at all and fell directly in front of Tian Tian. At this time, Tian Tian was in the room worrying about In Xiong. Bump. In Xiong's body smashed behind Tian Tian. Tian Tian was startled, and when he looked back, he saw that it was In Xiong, who was lying on the back of Tian Tian. In Xiong. Tian Tian hurriedly ran to help In Xiong up, but when Tian Tian turned In Xiong's body around, he saw the blood-red flesh and tears in front of In Xiong's body, and the tears couldn't stop flowing. It's really scary. Yin Xiang's originally perfect abdominal muscles have been replaced by a piece of flesh and blood. Tian Tian, don't cry. Yin Xiang raised his hand weakly and touched Tian Tian's face, wiping away Tian Tian's tears. You can't die, just cultivate. What's wrong with Tian Tian? The other people's rooms were next to each other. After they heard the movement in Tian Tian's room, they ran away immediately, only to see Tian Tian, who was holding Yin Xiang and crying. It was the first to rush in. Yin Xiang, seeing Yin Xiang, Naruto quickly ran to Yin Xiang's side. Looking at the Yin Xiang, Naruto stood there for a while not knowing what to do. Let me come. Xiao Ying immediately ran to Yin Xiang, asked Tian Tian to lay Yin Xiang on the ground, and then began to heal Yin Xiang. Although it was not as fast as Jiuwei's treatment, it was still an extra treatment. People, in the process of Xiao Ying's treatment, everyone surrounded Yin Xiang. You don't have to worry so much, I won't die yet. Yin Xiang looked at their relationship with a bitter smile on his face. He knelt down beside Yin Xiang every day, trying his best not to cry, but I can't hide that look of crying. What happened? How did you get hurt like this? Kakashi looked at Yin Xiang and said, I was careless, was plotted, and Deidara was rescued. Yin Xiang looked at Kakashi and said, and did not mention that Itachi saved himself. If he left himself there, he would definitely die. No doubt, but Itachi did a simple treatment for himself, and at least saved his life. As long as you can come back. Xiaoli looked at Yin Xiang and said, don't talk for now. Yin Xiang, it's really a miracle that you can survive with such an injury. I'm afraid this injury has to go back and be treated by the master. Xiao Ying said to Yin Xiang. Okay. Yin Xiang nodded, obeyed the doctor's orders, stopped talking, quietly looked at Tian Tian. And Tian Tian also held Yin Xiang's hand and looked at Yin Xiang quietly. Okay, let's all go out and let Yin Xiang heal. Kakashi greeted everyone and then pulled Naruto out of the room. Kai also left with Niji and Shaoli, leaving only the Sakura, whom Yin Xiang treated, and Tian Tian. Really, I've never seen you hurt like this before. You can't chase after yourself anymore, and you can't be so careless, you know, Yin Xiang. Tian Tian shouted to Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang smiled and nodded to Tian Tian. Fortunately, he didn't hurt his handsome face. Otherwise, this face is gone now. Shouldn't Tian Tian faint? End of this chapter. Chapter 126. Tsunade who came. Chapter 126. Tsunade who arrived. Xiao Ying has been treating Yin Xiang from noon to night, and she doesn't even have time to eat. Looking at Yin Xiang's pain, she can't eat a single bite every day. In the evening, she got a reply from Tsunade and learned that Yin Xiang's whereabouts are unknown. Tsunade immediately sneaked out of the village and rushed towards Sandine village at full speed. As for the Hokage office, why is it me again? Tsunade, who transformed from Lu Jio, was yelling in the office, and Mute beside him was helpless, looking for Lu Jio to replace Tsunade, who knows Lu Jio has already had the experience of becoming Hokage. One or two of these Hokage. Can't you be more serious? How can Hokage leave the village casually? Lu Jio said in the office while frantically reviewing documents. Well, because Yin Xiang is missing, Tsunade-sama is too worried. You can hold on for a few days. Mute said to Lu Jio with a wry smile. After a day of treatment, Yin Xiang also fell asleep, and Xiao Ying was too tired to fall asleep and was carried back to the room by Kakashi. Tian Tian was taking care of Yin Xiang. With Yin Xiang's current situation, it will be impossible to leave Sandine village for a while. Yin Xiang was covered with bandages all over his body, lying on the bed like a mummy, lying beside Yin Xiang's bed every day, and then gradually fell asleep. Early the next morning, Xiao Ying came to Yin Xiang's side as soon as she woke up. Yin Xiang hadn't woken up yet, and she was still sleeping beside Yin Xiang's bed every day. Tian Tian, take a break. I will continue to take care of Yin Xiang. Xiao Ying patted Tian Tian's shoulder and said. Tian Tian slowly opened his eyes and rubbed them. It's okay. I can take care of Yin Xiang. The master will be here soon. When the master arrives, Yin Xiang's injury will have a chance to heal right away. Xiao Ying said to Tian Tian, who also nodded, or you can go back to Konoha first, and Yin Xiang and I will stay here. Wait here for Tsunade-sama. Xiao Ying shook her head after hearing this. We have discussed yesterday. We will go back with you, although it is said that Xiao has been repelled temporarily. But if you meet Xiao on the way back, Yin Xiang will be hurt like this. I'm afraid it will happen again. All right. Tian nodded. You should also eat a little something. If Yin Xiang wakes up and sees you like this, he won't be happy. Xiao Ying said to Tian. Tian was stunned for a moment, then nodded, then stood up to wash. I never imagined that you would be the one who was hurt the most this time, Yin Xiang. Xiao Ying sat beside Yin Xiang's bed and looked at the unconscious Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang was actually asleep at first, but then it really became a coma. Not only Xiao Sakura, but no one thought that Yin Xiang would be the most injured in this operation. Another day passed, and Yin Xiang was still in a coma. And today, Tsunade also came. I heard that Yin Xiang had come back, but he was half dead from the bombing, and Tsunade rushed into Tiantian's room in a hurry. Seeing Yin Xiang lying in a coma on the bed behind Tsunade, Gaara and others also followed. Looking at Yin Xiang, who was covered in bandages, Tsunade was so angry that he almost ran to Akatsuki's headquarters and smashed Akatsuki, but Tsunade didn't know where Akatsuki's headquarters was. You bastard! I handed Yin Xiang to you. How could you let Yin Xiang get hurt like this? Tsunade punched Kai in the head and couldn't find anyone who could vent his anger. An excuse to find someone to vent. I didn't expect this to happen, Kai said, squatting in the corner with his head covered. Master, I have already done what I have to do. Next, I can only wait for Yin Xiang to recover by himself, and Yin Xiang's recovery speed is amazing. If it was someone else, I am afraid he would have died early. Even if he did not die, it takes at least a year to recover from an injury of this magnitude. Sakura walked to Tsunade and said, I've already seen it. Yin Xiang's injury will rest for a month. What kind of physique is this kid? Tsunade walked over to Yin Xiang's bed and looked at Yin Xiang. He didn't know that Yin Xiang had 9 tails in his body. Everyone in the world can only attribute this to Yin Xiang's physique. Next, Tsunade treated Yin Xiang again, which is not much different from Xiao Ying's treatment of Yin Xiang. Xiao Ying has already obtained the true biography of Tsunade. At this point, Xiao Ying has not arrived yet. Complete self-confidence. So I always thought that Yin Xiang would recover faster if Tsunade came. Under the treatment of Tsunade, Yin Xiang slowly opened his eyes and saw Tsunade, who was treating him. Senior sister, why are you so? I have returned to Konoha. When Yin Xiang saw Tsunade, he thought he had returned to Konoha. No, this is Yin. I haven't gone back yet. Tsunade saw Yin Xiang wake up, his face softened, and he said to Yin Xiang, Tsunade has long regarded Yin Xiang not only as a junior brother, but as a real brother. It's the same, although Tsunade's age can be a mother for Yin Xiang, but her appearance can still make Tsunade deceive herself. So, senior sister, you came to shine, that's not good, Yin Xiang said with a wry smile. Stop talking nonsense. If it wasn't because I heard that your kid had an accident, I wouldn't be too lazy to run this trip. Tsunade shouted to Yin Xiang. If it wasn't for Yin Xiang's poor health, Tsunade would want to give it to Yin Xiang. One punch. Then let me guess, is Konoha-sensei now pretending to be Hokage? Yin Xiang looked at Tsunade and said, Who knows, why bother with so much? Tsunade said to Yin Xiang, You little brat, heal me well, and don't do any mission for the next 6 months. Half a year? Well, senior sister, it's too much, just 1 month. Yin Xiang said to Tsunade, Don't bargain for me. Tsunade yelled at Yin Xiang. Okay. Yin Xiang looked at Tsunade like this, nodded quickly, and said, Anyway, he agreed first. In fact, Tsunade came here this time just for Yin Xiang and Naruto. Naruto is also a human Julie. In this action, Tsunade is also holding the mind that only Rin Julie can understand Rin Julie. It was sent by people, and Naruto has incredible power, which can make anyone become friends with him and are willing to fight for him. Preview of the next episode. Orochimaru's secret stronghold has been found. Sasuke, come back with me. Teach me the change in the nature of chakra. I must bring Sasuke back. Yin Xiang, you can't do this. The injury is not healed yet. Next chapter, Orochimaru's secret stronghold. End of this chapter. Chapter 127. Orochimaru's Secret Base. Chapter 127, Orochimaru's Secret Stronghold. After letting In Xiang rest for 2 days, the people of Konoha also set off back to Konoha. In order to let Tsunade go back earlier, and to make In Xiang less guilty, In Xiang used Flying Thunder God to lead Tsunade and Tsunade. She went to In Xiang's house every day, stayed at home every day to take care of In Xiang, and Tsunade went back to her office. Naruto and others also said goodbye to Chiyo, who was under the tombstone, and left Shine Village with the 3 of Gaara's brothers and sisters. Brought back. And in the route, there was also an action. Danzo arranged Sakai into Kakasaban, and Sakura also told Tsunade the news from the Scorpion. 10 days later, the Tiendi Bridge in the grass-hidden village, the Orochimaru meeting there, and now that there are only 2 days left after Naruto and the others come back, Tsunade also decided to arrange new members for Kakashiban and let them perform tasks. Although Kakashi didn't fight Deidara, he still used the kaleidoscope shaker in the battle with the Scorpion and used the power to deal with the Scorpion, so Kakashi is still in a weak state. So Naruto and Sakura are now it needs a new member and a leader to lead the team. For this reason, Naruto, who has just returned, is looking for new partners everywhere. You really are. How can you be hurt like this? I have never seen you hurt like this. When Juamalu came back in the evening, he looked at In Xiang, who was lying on the bed, and said, "Well, if you don't pay attention, that's all. Don't make fun of me. I'm not here for a few days. Are your injuries okay?" In Xiang said, looking at Juamalu. "Don't worry, I don't need to use my blood continuation limit, and I have also learned a lot of taijutsu and ninjutsu. Don't worry." Juamalu looked at In Xiang, who was entangled into a mummy, and said with a smile, "Juamalu's state is it's getting better." "That's good." In Xiang nodded. All right, you're going out soon. Don't disturb In Xiang Jingyang." Tian pushed Juma Lu's back out of the room. Juma Lu was pushed out of the room. Lu also left In Xiang's room helplessly and wanted to talk to In Xiangdua. "Don't be too nervous, you see. I'm much better." In Xiang looked at Tian helplessly and smiled. "When we were fighting that Scorpion, he sent a message that Orochimaru will meet someone there at the Tiendi Bridge of Chaoyin Village in 10 days. It has been 8 days now." He said to In Xiang next to him. "Really? Then I can't help either. With my current physical condition, I'm afraid I'll vomit blood and die if I get punched." In Xiang looked at the ceiling and said, "Naruto and Sakura must be going for this mission. Nothing can stop it." 2 days later, the new Kakasaban, consisting of Yamato, Sakai, Naruto, and Sakura, set off. Along the way, the disputes between Naruto, Sakura, and Sakai continued, causing Yamato a headache. In Xiang is also very happy under the habit of Tian these days, but the process of regrowing the body is too disgusting for In Xiang and Tian. That is, the two are ninjas and have seen a lot of them. The dead have also killed a lot of people. Otherwise, I don't know how many times I've vomited a day. Because of In Xiang's physical problems, Tian and In Xiang's tasks were temporarily suspended. Tsunade also occasionally came to visit In Xiang. In Xiang also endured the pain every day. After this physical recovery, his physical will become more solid. Naruto has already arrived at the Tiendi Bridge, and Naruto, who was stimulated by Orochimaru, grew 3 tails at once, and 4 tails grew behind him, completely turning into a small 9-tailed. Even so, Orochimaru was still on a par with Naruto, and Yamato succeeded in suppressing Naruto's 9 tails in the back. That is, Yamato was here, and it was really hard to change someone. On In Xiang's side, the flesh on In Xiang's body has grown back through the power of the 9 tails. After that, he still needs to rest. In Xiang, who has regained his mobility, doesn't have to let himself feed himself every day. It is still possible to pick up chopsticks and spoons on the bed. Tian, your cooking skills have improved a lot these days. In Xiang said to Tian while eating. "What? Was it bad to make it before?" Tian looked at In Xiang at a plate and said, "Well, it's really hard to eat." In Xiang nodded. Remembering the meal that Tian just started to cook for himself, it was hard to swallow. Completely become a guinea pig who cooks every day. "Damn, I'm taking care of you, but you still say that about me." Tian Tian shouted at Yin Xiang, "Don't eat it." Tian Tian grabbed the bowl in Yin Xiang's hand and said, "Oh, I'm angry. Didn't I say that it tastes a lot better now?" Yin Xiang looked at Tian Tian with a smile and said, "Really, if it wasn't for my inconvenience now, I must take care of you. Now that Juama Lu is not at home, it is a good time to clean up Tian Tian." "Ew, why are you so annoying?" How could Tian Tian not know what Yin Xiang was talking about to clean up, put the bowl on Yin Xiang's bedside table, and ran out. "Are you so shy?" Yin Xiang smiled when he looked at Tian Tian's back and looked at the bowl by the bed. "I'm going to gain a lot of weight now, eh?" On Naruto's side, Saoi has already taken the list of Hokage's direct umbu that Danzo gave him, followed Orochimaru and Kazuo back to their secret base, and met Sasuke. Now Sasuke is very skilled in the use of Sharingan. Now, with just one look, I use an illusion that made Sakai feel fearful and sat on the ground with cold sweat. Yamato also brought Naruto and Sakura to the door of the secret stronghold of Orochimaru. Their stronghold was hidden under a rock wall. The three of them also successfully sneaked into Orochimaru's stronghold, found Sakai, and figured it out. Sakai's real mission is to be the contact between Danzo and Orochimaru, and he caught the news and got Sasuke's news. After that, the four began to look for Sasuke's figure in the stronghold of Orochimaru, but the stronghold was too large and there were many rooms. So the four of them could not find Sasuke's figure for a while. Not only did they not find Sasuke, but they also met Orochimaru. Naruto, Sakura, and Yamato immediately fought with Orochimaru. Sakai took advantage of this time to use his ninjutsu to make a lot of mice and successfully found them. Sasuke. End of this chapter. Chapter 128. Naruto came to ask for advice. Chapter 128. Naruto came to ask for advice. The result of finding Sasuke is, of course, unsatisfactory. Sasuke's strength has become too strong. Naruto, who does not need nine-tailed chakra, is not Sasuke's opponent at all. In order to use Naruto as bait, let Konoha kill a few more Akatsuki. A member of the organization, Orochimaru temporarily spared Naruto and others, and left with Sasuke and Toho. The four Naruto returned to Konoha in despair. The day after returning to Konoha, Kakashi was able to be discharged from the hospital. During his stay in the hospital, Kakashi also thought about how to make Naruto and others stronger. The method at the back, I only thought of a way to make Naruto stronger, that is, let Naruto create a more powerful technique than Spiral Pill. That is to say, the nature of the chakra injected into the Spiral Pill has changed. After the test, Naruto's attribute is the Wind attribute, and Naruto also learned from Yamato and Kakashi about the boundary of blood, which is 2 attributes. After simultaneous use, these 3 generations have also spoken to Yin Xiang. First of all, what Kakashi wants to teach Naruto is the art of multiple shadows. The art of multiple shadows is different from the art of shadows. Multiple shadows can bring the experience value of the clones to the main body. That is to say, 1 clone and 2 clones are separated. If you train at the same time, the experience value is doubled. And the only person who can train in this way is Naruto with a huge chakra. So this method is not suitable for Sakura and Sai. Of course, in addition to Naruto, Yin Xiang can also use this method to practice. Yin Xiang also considered using multiple shadow clones for rehabilitation training after his body fully recovered his mobility, so that he could perfect himself in 1 day. Get your abs back. Naruto also started training. In order to keep Naruto's 9-tailed chakra from leaking, Kakashi also made a special trip to find Yamato to suppress him. While training Naruto, Kakashi did not forget to visit Yin Xiang, sent a shadow clone to see Yin Xiang. "Kakashi-sensei, you are discharged from the hospital." He opened the door for Kakashi every day and said, "Ah, just discharged from the hospital." Kakashi nodded and said, walking into Yin Xiang's house, "Brother Kakashi is here. Don't you have the key?" And you knocked on the door. Yin Xiang shouted to Kakashi lying on the bed in the room, and Kakashi walked into Yin Xiang's room. "Oh, no bandages anymore." Kakashi looked at Yin Xiang and said, "Really? You made fun of me as soon as you came. What happened to Naruto and the others?" In Xiang asked Kakashi with a wry smile. The main body is training Naruto. They went to the grass-hidden village and met Sasuke, but Sasuke's strength has become very strong, and Naruto is also very anxious, so he is giving Naruto special training. Casey said to In Xiang, "So you came to a shadow clone and still perfunctory me." In Xiang gave Kakashi a roll of eyes and said, "Well, don't be so disgusted. It makes my shadow clone very embarrassing." Kakashi scratched his head and said, In Xiang, are you at home?" Naruto's voice came from outside, knocking on the door of In Xiang's house. Huh? Is Naruto here too? Tian was stunned for a moment, then ran to open the door for Naruto. "What's the situation? Aren't you training?" In Xiang said, looking at Kakashi. "I don't know." Kakashi shrugged. In Xiang, Kakashi-sensei, said you were Konoha Kakashi? Kakashi-sensei. Naruto originally wanted to grasp the change in the nature of the wind attribute chakra, so he asked Kakashi's body, who was good at wind ninjutsu, to say who Konoha is best at wind ninjutsu. It must be In Xiang, but in addition to In Xiang, there is Asma between the two. Naruto, of course, chose to come to In Xiang. "Shadow clone. I'm a shadow clone. Why did you come here?" Kakashi explained to Naruto. "Ah, I want In Xiang to teach me how to change the wind attribute chakra attribute." Naruto looked at In Xiang and said, "I see." Kakashi nodded and understood the reason. "What are you talking about? In Xiang is so hurt now. How should I teach you?" Tian shouted to Naruto after hearing Naruto's words. "Yeah, that's right. Then I'll go to Asma teacher," Naruto said, and was about to leave In Xiang's house. "Wait a minute, Naruto." In Xiang stopped Naruto. "Naruto, turn around." Tian and Kakashi also looked at In Xiang. "Just asking these things, it doesn't matter. I can still answer." "Really?" Naruto heard the words and ran to In Xiang's bed again. "Hey, then tell me quickly. You want to add the chakra properties of Feng Dun to the spiral pill to form a new spiral pill, right?" In Xiang looked at Naruto and said, "It's a new ninjutsu, but it seems right to say that I want to develop a new ninjutsu." Naruto thought for a while and said, "In this case, it's not a new ninjutsu invented by you." In Xiang smiled and said, "Having said that, Naruto has not seen the spiral shuriken he used." Kakashi and Naruto were stunned. "That's right, you must have strengthened this technique long ago." Kakashi understood after thinking about it. In Xiang is an expert in using wind and thunder ninjutsu, and now In Xiang is not only in wind and thunder ninjutsu. After adding Feng Jun to Spiral Maru, a new ninjutsu will be formed, and the level will reach S rank. I will name it Spiral Shuriken. In Xiang also brazenly boasted in front of the person who actually invented this ninjutsu. "Great!" Naruto's eyes lit up when he heard that it was an S-rank ninjutsu. The Spiral Shuriken uses the change in the nature of the wind escape chakra to transform the chakra of the spiral pill into an advanced ninjutsu in the form of a shuriken. The disadvantage is that the state is unstable and requires zero-distance attack. If you have internal injuries, Senior Sister once listed this move as a forbidden technique. Is this a forbidden technique? So I can't learn it. Naruto was a little disappointed after hearing this. It's not like this. If the strength of the practitioner is strong enough, the spiral shuriken can avoid side effects and can be thrown. Next, we'll show you the spiral shuriken. In Xiang said and raised his right hand. "Wait a minute. In Xiang, you are still injured." Tian hurriedly stopped In Xiang when he saw this. In Xiang shook his head. "It's all right, just showing a powerless spiral shuriken." In Xiang gave Tian a reassuring smile, thought about it every day, and stopped blocking it. Spiral shuriken. On In Xiang's right hand, the spiral pill first appeared, and then 4 wind horns gradually appeared, just like a shuriken. Naruto looked at the spiral hand in In Xiang's hand excitedly. Legion. The wind attribute chakra is like a chakra with a sharp blade, which can cut off all objects and use it to deal with special ninja tools and ninjutsu. When used on a chakra blade, the cutting power will be maximized. It has attack power, so you can understand. In Xiang said, putting away the spiral shuriken. End of this chapter. Chapter 129. Naruto's New Mission. Chapter 129 Naruto's New Mission. This, that. Can you briefly talk about it? Naruto said, scratching his head in embarrassment. That is to say, it can increase the cutting power of ninja tools and ninjutsu. The wind attribute chakra is a relatively rare attribute. You will become very strong with good training, understand? In Xiang said to Naruto, I understand. In Xiang will heal your wounds well, and I will show you this ninjutsu. Naruto excitedly said to In Xiang, but he didn't notice In Xiang's trembling right arm. The powerful spiral shuriken is such a simple matter. And then Naruto's shadow clone disappeared with a touch. Really? So what are you trying to do? Kakashi looked at In Xiang's slightly trembling arm and said while looking at In Xiang, well, don't worry about it. It'll be fine soon. In Xiang smiled and said unconcernedly, he was very happy to be able to help Naruto. Then, you still didn't tell Naruto about your relationship? Kakashi continued. In Xiang shook his head. Isn't there a chance? I was knocked unconscious before. This kid came this time after I was injured, just to ask for ninjutsu lessons. Naruto is also due to Sasuke's business. He went to Kuzukin village a few days after he came back, and now he has to practice new ninjutsu. So put your business behind you. Kakashi said to In Xiang. Really, In Xiang, you lied to me. Tian grabbed In Xiang's trembling right arm and said while rubbing In Xiang. It's all right, I'll be back to normal soon. In Xiang rubbed Tian's head and said, this would also make Tian calm down. Sure enough, under In Xiang's favor, Tian didn't complain, but just helped In Xiang. He raised his arms. By the way, what are you talking about? What is the relationship with Naruto? Naruto is my younger brother. I didn't tell you. Of course, In Xiang didn't hide it from Tian and told Tian directly. Hearing In Xiang's words, Tian was startled, but Naruto was unexpectedly In Xiang's younger brother. Your brother? Of course not. It's the biological son of my father and mother. In Xiang said with a smile. Your father and mother. That is the fourth Hokage? Naruto is actually the son of the fourth Hokage. Tian's eyes widened. This is really unexpected. I heard that the fourth Hokage is a very how can a gentle and handsome person have a son like Naruto. What Tian doesn't know is that Naruto's character is very similar to his mother's blood-colored pepper whirlpool Kushina, and that character is really hot. Well, then I'll go back first, and you will recover from your injuries. Kakashi looked at the two and said that he really didn't want to continue eating dog food here, and then the shadow clone exploded directly. It's rare for someone to come to show us our love. In Xiang said to the seat where Kakashi, who had disappeared, was sitting. Really, that's what I said, but if you go on like this, the recovery will be slower. Tian looked at In Xiang dissatisfiedly and said, on Naruto's side, after receiving In Xiang's advice, his practice became even smoother, but because he worked too hard, Naruto fainted because of his practice, but at this time, Tsunade and others returned to Naruto. They sent a mission because Kakashi has other missions, so this time the mission is still Yamato, Naruto, Sakura, and Sai. On the surface, this mission is to eliminate a group of robbers, but in fact, someone launched an attack near the Country of Fire. It was suspected to be the Country of Rain, and it was suspected to be someone organized by Akatsuki, so Asmaban was sent to understand the situation. However, there were not many people in the village, and they were worried that when Asma and the others went out, Akatsuki would come to Konoha to attack Naruto, so they also sent Naruto class out. Now Konoha is busy again. The people who are idle are In Xiang, who is seriously injured, and Tian, who is taking care of In Xiang. If necessary, In Xiang will also drag his wrecked body to support Naruto. Naruto and the others rushed to the Temple of Fire that day. In the Temple of Fire, Naruto met a boy named Sora and found that this boy was also looked at by others with that kind of eyes. Looking at Naruto's eyes, Naruto can also understand Sora's feelings. The two of them can be regarded as a pair of happy enemies and fight each other as soon as they meet, and they don't deal with each other, and they don't like each other. Hey, I really want to recover quickly. In Xiang was lying on the bed. Looking up at the ceiling, he was almost suffocated in bed. I thought that coming here from the real world would be able to escape the epidemic and not stay at home. In the end, after going around in circles, I still can't escape the end of being unable to go out. In Xiang shouted in his heart. This is the 5th time you have said this today, so don't complain anymore. Tian Tian said beside In Xiang. Let's just use the technique of Bai Hao. In Xiang said. He raised his 2 hands to prepare the seal, untied the In seal on his head. Tian Tian quickly reached out and stopped In Xiang. What are you doing? Lord Tsunade, I didn't say that if you use this technique too much, your life expectancy will be shortened. You only need a rest for a few days, right? I'm really unconvinced. In Xiang gritted his teeth. He couldn't practice cultivation, and he couldn't do tasks. Although he was very happy with Tian Tian every day, but now Xiao has started to take action, and he doesn't know when he will be against Naruto. It would be really troublesome if he took the shot while he was recovering from his injury. Okay. I can't do the task because I have to take care of you, so don't complain anymore. Tian Tian covered In Xiang's quilt, said to In Xiang, and then slept next to In Xiang himself. I have been with you like this, and I don't know what you are not satisfied with. What's not satisfying is that my body can't move at will. In Xiang stretched out his arms and hugged Tian Tian and said, Hey, we are 18 years old now. When are you going to marry me? Tian Tian also hugged In Xiang and said this time. The 2 lie face to face. 20 or so, you don't want to have a little In Xiang to play with me right now. In Xiang said, looking at Tian Tian's eyes. No. Tian Tian hugged In Xiang's neck and buried his face in In Xiang's arms. Go to sleep. I'm so sleepy. Well, In Xiang nodded and hugged Tian Tian tightly. At this time, Naruto began to fight. Although it was late at night, these thieves came to steal the body at night. Naruto and others also fell into their traps and were trapped in a space similar to another dimension. In ninjutsu, end of this chapter, Chapter 130, by Hao's Art. Chapter 130, the technique of 100 heroes. The next day, Asuma and the others also came back, confirming that those things were not what the Akatsuki organization did, and Naruto and the others also returned with Sora of the Fire Temple. However, something happened to In Xiang's side. In Xiang's room was full of umbu at this time. Danzong entered In Xiang's bedroom from the gate of In Xiang's house. In Xiang lay on the bed and looked at this group of umbu. He was holding In Xiang's hand tightly beside Xiang. Master Danzo, broke into the house of the 4th Hokage with a root? Is this your style? In Xiang also held Tiantian's hand, using his current physical condition. It's time for Konoha to make a change. As the strongest of the new generation of ninjas, Konoha's famous Black Flash, I'll give you one last chance. Join the roots. The enchantment has been set around. You're flying, Thor can't get out. Danzo tapped on the ground with his cane and said, Take advantage of people's danger, Danzong-sama. Even if he was surrounded to this point, In Xiang still used honorifics to Danzong. For In Xiang, Danzong was still the elder of Konoha village for Konoha. People who work hard, although their methods are a bit extreme, they're still good for Konoha. Have you always been this lighthearted? I heard that you were seriously injured. Danzo looked at In Xiang and smiled. But Danzo-sama, you don't seem to have listened to what I said. Didn't I say, if you become Hokage, you will die? In Xiang looked at Danzo and said he already had a plan in his heart. If Danzo had to do it if I were timid, I would have died long ago. And I have also thought of a way for your prophecy. A bright smile appeared on Danzo's face. I know you are a smart person. I have something to say. I will train you into the next Hokage and become my puppet. Puppet Hokage? It's too natural for you to think, but I will resist. In Xiang glanced at Danzo and said, My curse mark is not something you can resist. Danzo said, and then the surrounding umbu drew their knives, ready to control In Xiang. If you have this kind of means to the outside world, Konoha doesn't know how strong it will be. I won't give in lightly. In seal. Release. In Xiang made a seal with one hand and opened the top of his head. The In seal of 2 stripes spread out on In Xiang's face. Ninja. Create regeneration. In Xiang's injury recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In Xiang slowly stood up from the bed, then pulled Tian Tian up and used Flying Thunder God to go to the yard. If he could not damage the house, try not to damage it. In Xiang Yu. Tian looked at In Xiang with a worried expression. Who is this person called Tuanzang in front of him? You can't die. Don't worry. Find out the weakness of the barrier, and we will break through it as soon as possible. Don't bother. If you can't beat these 20 umbu, you won't be able to get out. Danzo walked out of the room and said to In Xiang. The 20 umbu also formed a circle, killing In Xiang and Tian, surrounded by it. At least let Tian leave. In Xiang looked at Danzong and said, In Xiang. Tian quickly looked at In Xiang after saying this. How could she escape by herself? Do you want her to report to Tsunade? Do you take me for a fool? Danzo looked at In Xiang and said, Do it. After Danzo shouted to do it, 20 umbu charged towards In Xiang and Tian with knives. After a circle of big pits, 20 umbu were temporarily forced back, and 20 umbu were forced back, throwing shuriken at In Xiang. Chidori Ryu. In Xiang used Chidori Ryu around himself and Tian, hitting all the hidden weapons on the ground, and then charged towards an umbu, who also fought with umbu. Ninja. Lei Zong. In Xiang stretched out his hand toward the house. Queenie Lei smashed the window and flew into In Xiang's hand. In Xiang pulled out Queenie Lei and inserted it on the ground. The whole ground was covered with lightning. In Xiang using Flying Thor to get behind Tian, holding Tian and jumping up. Danzo and a few umbu jumped to the roof immediately upon seeing this, and a few umbu were caught in the thunder and howled in pain. In Xiang fell to the ground, pulled out the Queenie Lei that was inserted into the ground, held it behind his back, and looked up at the group battle and a dozen umbu standing on the roof. Your umbu level is not that good, Danzo. Grown-ups, if you can't keep up in terms of strength, then you will be crushed by numbers. In umbu, haven't you learned it? Danzo looked at In Xiang, and more than a dozen umbu behind him continued to charge towards In Xiang. That's it. Tsunade's voice came from a wall behind In Xiang. Tsunade was standing on it. Just now, In Xiang's painful feet and Lei Zong had already alarmed Tsunade. In Xiang was only for this purpose. Using this conspicuous wide area, ninjutsu, In Xiang's favorite yard in front of the room was also destroyed in a mess. Retreat. Seeing Tsunade coming, Danzo immediately retreated with people, and the surrounding barrier disappeared. This is also a barrier that can only be entered, but not out. Senior sister, you're here. In Xiang put Quin Lei in the scabbard, looked at Tsunade, and said, You. Tsunade saw that In Xiang's forehead was withdrawing the stripes, and understood that In Xiang was using the technique of Baihao. Well, it's not a bad thing. Now I can perform the mission. In Xiang twisted his neck and said, It's not the first time Danzo-sama has seen me. I've always been ready. What is he looking for you for this time? Tsunade looked at In Xiang and said, He wants me to be his puppet Hokage and help him control Konoha. Of course I won't agree. In Xiang smiled wryly and said, You also know that I have no interest in Hokage. He also wants to train you into Hokage. Tsunade frowned. Not only Sandai and himself, but Danzo really valued In Xiang. Yes, I don't even know what you guys think. Why are you staring at me alone? In Xiang pouted and said, I'll take care of Danzo's affairs. You better take care of it all. Tsunade looked at the mess in the yard and said, Yeah. In Xiang nodded. Then Tsunade left. Tian, are you all right? In Xiang looked at Tian and said, Nodded Tian. She was indeed not injured. Then go home first. It's been a long time since your parents were worried about you. In Xiang said to Tian. Although Tian's parents knew about In Xiang and Tian, they had never met each other. Tian's parents are also quite satisfied with In Xiang's son-in-law. End of this chapter. Chapter 131, Young Akong. Chapter 131, Young Akong. Tian also packed up his things and went home. In Xiang looked at the mark on the ground, worried in his heart, then sighed, went back to the room to take a good bath, then changed into a suit and went out to find a craftsman. Now, I have to repair the ground, and I also found a window repairer to repair my own window. That night, Danzo disappeared, and Tsunade immediately sent someone to look for it, but it was found the next day, and Danzo was brought back. He was captured with Danzo, and there was a person with Yunin to protect his forehead. At this time, In Xiong was also in Tsunade's office, looking at Danzo, who was captured. In Xiong, Tsunade, and Mute went to the first floor of the Hokage building together. There's a torture room here. That range shinobi was locked in the chair. It was a very dim room. Yamato and Asma also came. The feng shui turns, Lord Danzo. Looking at Danzo, who was tied in front of him, In Xiong couldn't help but sneered, but Danzo didn't pay any attention to In Xiong. Can you explain, Danzo, why, during this period when the situation with you ninja was unstable, why did he take risks and interact with ninjas from neighboring countries? During this time, wars often broke out on the border of the country of fire. In many villages it was destroyed. Therefore, Tsunade also photographed a lot of Shangnin and led the team to the border of the country of fire. If it wasn't for In Xiong's serious injury, In Xiong should be at the border of the country of fire at this time. Even though Tsunade said so, Danzo still said nothing and kept a smile on his face. Are you listening? Seeing Danzo's attitude, Tsunade shouted, Wait, I have an impression of this man. Yamato looked at that Uranus and said, It was a man whose whereabouts were unknown when I was in Umbu. I remember his name was Tatsuji. So, is he a spy sent by Danzo-sama into Yunin? Asma said, looking at Danzo. It means that you arbitrarily did a lot of investigation behind the scenes. Tsunade looked at Danzo and said, Although I don't know what you were looking for about Yurin, but tell me the information you have, the attack not long ago. Is Yurin participating? Danzo sneered twice. I don't even have this level of information. Princess Tsunade, I don't object if you want to be self-sufficient, but this kind of negligence will lead to the village's loss. Into the abyss. You didn't mean to say it. Tsunade was a little angry after hearing this. Okay, then. Tsunade walked towards you ninja, who was behind Danzo, ready to let this person speak. Forget it. Do you think he will speak? Danzo looked at Tsunade and said, Really? Then let me come 3 minutes. No, let him speak in 1 minute. In Xiong slipped a kunai from his sleeve and said he should have been standing aside to torture this work. Ibizi did it, but In Xiong's torture method was also notoriously cruel in Konoha, and even Ibisai, the torture expert, felt a chill. At this moment, the door opened and Mito Kadori and Shun Kohor walked in. Tsunade, what are you worried about? As Hokage, you should be more calm. Mito Kadori said to Tsunade. Also let In Xianglai torture him. Even if you just scare him, you're going too far. Turning to bed, Xiaochun walked to Chinji's side at this time and patted Chinji's shoulder. Don't be afraid. I'll make you suffer. Turning to bed, Xiaochun's operation made everyone present, including Danzo, stunned for a moment. It turns out that since he belongs to the two of you, there is no need to torture him. In Xiong smiled and put away the kunai. Although these two advisors sometimes oppose Hokage everywhere, the information they got was never about Hokage, and unlike Danzo's assertiveness, the two of them still watch Naruto's decision most of the time. Danzo, Tatsuji is not just a spy for you alone. He also transmits information for us. He is also a Konoha person. This is not a double agent. Head. According to his report, Yurin was not involved in the attack on the border this time. According to Chinji, he also received a mission to track down the group of 4 who had excavated a hidden tomb near the Temple of Fire a few days ago. This group of 4 was the 4 Naruto, and the others met when they were in the Temple of Fire. As you were worried, those 4 people seemed to be the young man who wanted to get the Temple of Fire a Kong. Xiaochun said that the 2 of them didn't hide information from Tsunade, and these Danzo were a little embarrassed. Akong, In Xiong, who has been recovering from his injuries these days, doesn't know who Akong is. Tsunade, you also know the incident that the boy caused in the Fire Temple in the past. Mito Gateyin looked at Tsunade and said, I know. Tsunade nodded without refuting. Although I don't know the reason, but the boy must have some unknown power, perhaps the same as the body of the 12 guardian ninjas they took away, or even more important. Turning to bed, Xiaochun said, You actually recruited such an unidentified, dangerous person into the village, and you still have to treat yourself as the village chief who guards the village, so you should make a decision immediately. Danzo also said at this time, But I can't just send him back to the Temple of Fire, so why not imprison him? Xiaochun thought, turning to bed. No, the seeds of disaster that will harm the village must be uprooted. Danzo said with narrowed eyes. Destroy it. Tsunade understood what Danzo meant. Is it an uncontrollable power? Wouldn't it be good to seal it? In Xiang was confused and still didn't understand who Kong was. But through their conversation, In Xiang also knew who this Kong was. A man with dangerous powers, and now in the village. Tsunade, it's up to you to decide. Please put Konoha's interests first. Mito Gate, Yin said to Tsunade, and everyone looked at Tsunade. Tsunade just paused for a moment, then said, I refuse. Let go of me. Tsunade was interrupted before he finished speaking, and everyone looked behind them. Bastard. Let me go. Masked bastard. A boy was carried by two Umbu to Tsunade and others in front of. A Kong. Tsunade shouted when he saw the boy. This is a Kong. In Xiang looked at the young man. It seemed that there was nothing special, but his right hand was wrapped in a bandage. We found him hiding on the roof. Umbu said, this Umbu was Yuzuki Yuyen. Damn, what are you joking about? What smearing are you so taboo about my power? A Kong struggled in the hands of the two Umbu and shouted, you are no different from the people in the Temple of Fire. You are a seed of disaster. Danzo, who was tied to a chair, turned around and said, Danzo. Tsunade immediately yelled at Danzo, preventing him from continuing. End of this chapter, Chapter 132, 3 Lamas. Chapter 132, 3 Karamas. This kid has my chakra remnants in his body. Karama said, in In Xiang's body. In Xiang was stunned for a moment, then smiled. So that's the case. The unknown power is your power. Your chakra is really everywhere. Some of my chakras were transplanted into his body, which is a pseudo-nine-tailed pillar force. Karama said to In Xiang, I understand. In Xiang nodded, then walked towards Akong. In Xiang. Tsunade looked at In Xiang with some doubts. Sora also looked at the person in front of him. Who is he? What do you want to do? It's very simple. It's not some unknown power. It's just nine-tailed chakra. In Xiang said to everyone. Everyone was stunned. In Xiang raised his right hand, and a massive chakra appeared on each finger and then patted on an empty stomach. Ugh! Sora cried out in pain, then passed out on the hands of the two Umbu. The seal of the 5 elements. In Xiang withdrew his hand. This is no problem. Why obliterate it? Konoha has another 9-tailed man. Isn't it strong? In Xiang looked back at the crowd and said, how do you know it's 9-tailed chakra? Tsunade looked at In Xiang and asked, I had a very close contact with a 9-tailed chakra, and I felt the 9-tailed chakra on him. I blocked his chakra with the 5-element seal. I can take over him in the future and make him a member of my team. Or let Naruto take back the 9-tailed chakra in his body. I think the 9-tailed should be very willing to do so. In Xiang said to them. Several people looked at each other. Okay, let's sit like this. I'll take Tatsuji. Turning to bed, Xiaochun said as he untied Tatsuji's chains. Let Naruto Uzumaki take back the 9-tailed chakra, and you can decide what happens after that. Mito Minyan also said, and then the two left with Tatsuji. Understood, Tsunade nodded. Since In Xiang has already dealt with this matter, he will not say much, and let them take Shinsi away. Go and call Naruto right away and take the 9-tailed chakra forced out, and then let Naruto recover. Tsunade also explained to Umbu. Yes, Umbu answered immediately, and then went to Naruto. You two don't hold him. It's very tiring. In Xiang looked at Yu Shien and another Umbu and smiled. The two also put a Kong on the ground. As for In Xiang, they were former teammates. I still know him, and he knows what the kid in front of him is capable of. Then I can go now, Danzo said as he sat on the chair and looked at Tsunade. I didn't ask you to settle the matter with In Xiang. Take him away. Tsunade looked at Danzo and said, yes. Jumalu walked out from the side, then took Danzo away and locked him somewhere else. Soon, Umbu brought Naruto and came to this room. Naruto looked at a Kong in a coma and In Xiang, who was standing beside a Kong. In Xiang, your injury has healed. Well, all right, when I'm done with the matter at hand, I can teach you how to control the wind chakra. In Xiang smiled at Naruto. Really? Hearing this, Naruto was also very excited. But what happened to a Kong? Also, What is the matter at hand? Naruto, the power in a Kong's body is actually the nine-tailed chakra. Now I need to take back the nine-tailed chakra from him. Tsunade said to Naruto, Yamato, get ready. Tsunade turned around again, said to Yamato. Yes, Yamato nodded. In order to prevent Naruto's nine-tailed chakra from leaking when he took back the nine-tailed chakra, Yamato needed to be prepared. Naruto was stunned when he heard that the chakra in Sora's body turned out to be nine-tailed chakra. So, the reason why Kong is annoying is also because of the nine tails. After reacting, Naruto's mood is down again. Of course, he understands how Kong feels, and now he knows that a Kong's body is actually nine-tailed chakra. Okay, since you can help him, you should be happy. In Xiang patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, Well, Naruto nodded. Then, let's start. Naruto looked at In Xiang and said, In Xiang nodded, and then raised a Kong to the center, and Naruto also walked to the empty space. Beside him, what should I do? Naruto looked at In Xiang and said, You don't have to do anything, just sit here. In Xiang said to Naruto. Although Naruto was puzzled, he still sat cross-legged next to a Kong. Please, Yamato. In Xiang looked back at Yamato, because the two were of the same level and had cooperated on missions. In Xiang knew that Yamato's code name was Tianzong, but it was inappropriate to call it on this occasion. Yeah, Yamato nodded and prepared the Hokage-style ear-smoothing technique. Ku nrch and Chushu. Ku nrch and Chushu. This ninjutsu is a ninjutsu performed by the first Hokage. Free from Madara's control and fall into a deep slumber, characterized by the word za appearing in the center of the palm. This move is so powerful that it can suppress the nine-tailed chakra. And Yamato used the wooden scorpion to bind the nine tails in advance, and then cooperated with the necklace of the first Hokage to forcibly suppress the power of the out-of-control Naruto once, just when they went to the grass-hidden village. Please, Kurama, it's up to you to convince that guy. In Xiang said to the Kurama in his body. I see. Kurama nodded. If it weren't for the fact that In Xiang had nine tails in his body, In Xiang would have done it himself. Hey, my body. In Xiang contacted the Kurama in Naruto's body. Oh, you're the chakra I separated from back then. You look good. Nine Tails opened his eyes in Naruto's body and looked at the Nine Tails who were two circles smaller than him in front of him. Let's not talk about this. This kid lying in front of this kid has our chakra implanted in his body. You take it back. In Xiang's nine tails said to Naruto's nine tails. This kind of trivial thing, you can do it if you don't do it. Nine Tails glanced at Nine Tails and said, I have to hide now, or my life will be in danger at any time. In Xiang's Nine Tails said, Really, I know. What are you so afraid of? Anyway, sooner or later, you are not going to return to my body. Naruto's Nine Tails stood up from the ground and said, That's something in the future, then I'll leave it to you. In Xiang's Nine Tails said, and then disappeared into Naruto's spiritual space. Next episode preview. Actually, I'm your brother. What? Why didn't you tell me for so many years? I finally have relatives. Next chapter, Brothers Recognize. End of this chapter, Chapter 133, Brothers Recognized. Chapter 133, Brothers Recognize Each Other. After In Xiang's Nine Tails returned to In Xiang's side, Kong's body also changed. A mass of red chakra gradually emerged from Kong's body, forming a tailed beast coat, and then rose in the air, turned into a blood-red nine-tailed fox head, roared, and got into Naruto's stomach. That's enough. Naruto looked at the scene in front of him, feeling a little overwhelmed for a while. How could the nine-tailed guy obediently help them recover the nine-tailed chakra? It stands to reason that he should be very happy with his own chakra raging outside. Okay, In Xiang nodded, and Yamato withdrew his technique when he saw that there was nothing to do. Then what should I do with Kong? I'll take it back to my house first. Is that okay? Naruto looked at Tsunade and said, but Tsunade looked at In Xiang. Don't worry, senior sister, there's no problem. In Xiang gave Tsunade a reassuring look. Okay, then leave it to Naruto. Tsunade nodded and said, Great. Naruto was very happy when he got Tsunade's answer. After that, In Xiang and Naruto brought the comatose Kong back to Naruto's house and came to Naruto's house. Naruto put a Kong on the bed, and In Xiang turned around the room and found that there were too many inside. A wardrobe filled with the clothes Naruto wore from childhood to adulthood filled the entire wardrobe. Before he knew it, he had already given Naruto a lot of clothes. Naruto, why do you keep these old clothes? In Xiang looked at the clothes in the closet and said to Naruto, you can throw away the clothes you can't wear or donate them to those in need. Actually, those clothes were given to me by someone else, and I don't know who it was. It's better for me to keep them until I figure out who it is. Naruto scratched his hair and said to In Xiang. Looking at Naruto like this, In Xiang couldn't help but feel a little sad, and then saw the gifts he gave Naruto from the age of 4 neatly placed on the cabinet. In Xiang sighed. That's also, I don't know who gave it to me since I was a child. I get it every year for my birthday, but I lost all the ones before the age of 4. I'm a little sorry for that person, huh? Naruto said with a smile. In Xiang shook his head. What's there to be sorry for? In Xiang didn't expect Naruto to cherish these things so much. Naruto, do you remember when we rescued Gaara before, and you yelled at me? That. I know I was wrong. Don't do it. Naruto shrank to the corner in a defensive posture. Looking at Naruto like this, In Xiang smiled helplessly, then walked towards Naruto step by step. I tell you, I said, I will give you an answer after Gaara is rescued. But after that, I was injured. No chance. In Xiang stood in front of Naruto. Naruto looked at In Xiang earnestly, put down the hand covering his head, and looked at In Xiang. Why should I care about you? In Xiang raised his hand, and Naruto closed his eyes subconsciously. The next moment, In Xiang's hand fell on Naruto's head and rubbed Naruto. That's because I'm your brother. Naruto's body was obviously stunned for a moment, and he slowly opened his eyes, looking at In Xiang, who was smiling and tearing in front of him. Naruto's mouth slowly opened unconsciously, then, that is to say, these are, Naruto said with some weeping, looking at the clothes in the closet and the things on the closet. I gave it to you. In Xiang nodded, and Naruto's tears finally flowed out uncontrollably. Why? Why didn't you tell me for so many years? Naruto had no doubt that In Xiang was lying to him, because the emotion in In Xiang's eyes couldn't be hidden. It was the eyes that really cared about him. Because 3 generations of them, don't let me tell you, you have to hide your identity, so as to protect you. But now, they already know your identity, there's no need to hide it. These years, I also want to meet you. In Xiang squinted his eyes and laughed, tears still streaming down one after another. In Xiang has thought about many scenes of recognizing each other, but he never thought that his own tears would really flow out. But in this case, the 4th Hokage, Naruto naturally knew that if In Xiang's son of the 4th Hokage was In Xiang's younger brother, then the 4th Hokage would. Well, he's your biological father, and I'm his adopted son. Your father's name is Minato Namikaze, and your mother's name is Uzumaki Kushina. You have the same yellow hair as your father, and the same huge chakra and taste. In Xiang retracted his hand and said to Naruto, that's why you didn't let me scribble on the Hokage rock, especially the 4th Hokage. That's why you knew what kind of ramen I like to eat. That's why you have to keep me learning. That's why you protected me all the time and yelled at me. So that's how it is. Naruto looked at In Xiang, wiped the tears from his face, and said, I still remember that year. When I was still at the ninja school, I skipped class and went out to doodle on the Hokage rock and was caught by In Xiang. In Xiang taught himself a lesson and took himself back to class. At that time, it was In Xiang who cleaned the Hokage. After that, he has always invited himself to eat ramen and barbecued meat. He also suspected that In Xiang would be his brother several times, but he did not dare to strengthen this belief at all. Unexpectedly, In Xiang was really his brother. Looking back, In Xiang was really good to himself, always helping himself, but he didn't seem to have provided any help to In Xiang. Brother. Naruto couldn't help but threw himself into In Xiang's arms. Hey, you don't have to be so excited. We two big men. In Xiang raised his hands and looked at Naruto, who was hugging him. However, the sound of the elder brother's cry made him feel very comfortable. In In Xiang's opinion, it was worth his efforts to Naruto for so many years. But, after so many years, I finally have relatives. Naruto wiped In Xiang's clothes with snot and tears. In Xiang looked at it with disgust. This guy Naruto. Ming people have been envious of others having families since they were young. Every day, they are picked up after school. After graduating from the ninja school, some people are happy for them. The family eats together and laughs together. Only I come here all the time, and there's only one warmth every month. When I got home, I saw new clothes on the table. After meeting In Xiang for the first time, In Xiang brought him more warmth. He treats himself like a real brother. Now he is really his brother, and Naruto is of course very happy. Additional reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 134. Konoha is attacked. Chapter 134. Konoha is attacked. Okay, don't be so excited. Take good care of Kong. If senior sister knew that I told you the truth, I don't know what to say about me. In Xiang patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, "Brother, what kind of people are father and mother?" Naruto asked In Xiang with a pair of big eyes. That is to say, the person he asked was In Xiang. Otherwise, no one could remember such a small thing. Dad is a very gentle person, but when he is serious, he is also very powerful, and he is willing to protect the village. People who sacrifice themselves willingly, Mother's temper is hot. In the past, Konoha people called blood red pepper, but in fact, Mother is also a very gentle person. You will see them in the future. In the future? But aren't they already? Naruto didn't understand what In Xiang said. I will see you, In Xiang said to Naruto. Today you take care of him first, and tomorrow I will teach you Fengdan. If you want, move back anytime and live with me. Moving back? No need. I'm used to living here, Naruto smiled at In Xiang. Well, it depends on your own mind. You can come back whenever you want. This is the key to the house. In Xiang gave Naruto the key to his home, and Naruto looked at the key in In Xiang's hand for a while. And some can't relax. Do they have a home too? After a while, Naruto took the key in In Xiang's hand and nodded. Well, then I'll go first. By the way, I'll see Tian calling my sister-in-law in the future. In Xiang patted Naruto on the shoulder, then turned and left. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law. Naruto raised his eyebrows. Even if he recognized a brother at the same time, he even gave him a sister-in-law. In Xiang, who left Naruto's house, went to get a new key, and then went home to see that the workers outside the house were building a new yard, and the windows had been replaced. Hey, looking at the yard being renovated, In Xiang sat on the roof and sighed. Can't Danzo fight me in a different place, destroy my yard like this, and don't pay the decoration fee? Fortunately, In Xiang's funds are sufficient. For the 3 million taels of the S-level mission 2 years ago, the 3 generations will give him 1 million taels. The 1 million taels have not been spent yet. Plus, during his time in Umbu, In Xiang also performed a lot of S-level tasks, and each time he would give himself a lot of benefits in the tasks. The so-called welfare is to make more money for himself. In Xiang is a layman. Without money, he can't live anywhere. The real world is the same, and this world is the same. The yard was renovated until the evening. In Xiang sat on the roof and watched, looking at his newly renovated yard. He was very satisfied. It was even better than the previous yard, and a fish pond was added. If it wasn't for the lack of space, great. In Xiang wants to add a swimming pool here. When In Xiang was about to eat, there was a sudden power outage. Tsunade issued an urgent order to gather. In Xiang also reluctantly took the quenching thunder and put on a black Umbu cape to rush to gather, although In Xiang is no longer Umbu. But adding a black cape can still reflect your own style after all. After In Xiang came out, he found that the entire village was without power. Something must have happened. This kind of large-scale power outage had never happened to 9 Tails. At present, all the Chunin and Shangnin in the village have gathered in front of the Hokage building. Except for those who have already rushed to the door, there are only 20 people left. The others have been sent to the border of the Fire Country to monitor urine. Konoha is also busy everywhere. The ninjas use flashlights as signals. Once the flashlight does not flicker in one place, it proves that something has happened there. You should have also seen that the entire Konoha village has been cut off from the power supply and is in a state of power outage. Although it is also considered that it may be an electrical accident, But considering that the power facility has not sent contact, we should act on the assumption of artificial cutoff. Therefore, from now on, Konoha Village enters the second state of alert. Tsunade looked at the ninjas in front of him and said, "The third squadron is divided into 3 teams to go to the east, west, and north gates. The second squadron goes to the gate. The first squadron goes to confirm the situation of the power facilities. Inseong goes to the gate to support. Asma, you stay here, don't let go of any clues, and scattered." After Tsunade finished speaking, everyone left. Inseong also went to the gate and stood in the aisle above the gate. What's wrong? There seemed to be movement in the forest just now. Izumo Kamizuki looked at the forest and said, "It doesn't seem like it." Inseong looked at the forest. A group of birds flew up from the forest. There must be a lot of movement. How many people are arranged outside the village? 5 chunin. Gamashiranui said to Inseong. Touch. At this moment, an explosion occurred 1 kilometer away from the gate, and the flashlight there stopped flashing. As expected, something had happened. "All of you, stay where you are." Inseong saw Shiranui Shinjian preparing to order everyone to rush up, and immediately stopped Shiranui Shinjian. "The opponent's strength is unknown. I'll try it first. All of you will provide remote support in the back. Help me hold this." Inseong handed a Fei Laishan Kawu to Shiranui Shinjian, and then jumped off. Everyone listened to Inseong's command. "Don't move around. Support from a distance." Shiranui Gama also immediately said to the Chunin, "Inseong is the highest level elite Hunin here. Boundary art, Vodman Tiata." Inseong set a barrier trap on the ground. When they approached, they would be trapped in the barrier. Inseong stood there, waiting for them to come. After a while, the 4 of them walked in front of Inseong, saw Inseong standing here alone, stopped, and glanced at each other. The 4 of them wore hats with the Urin logo and hid their faces. Under the hat, one of them came out, took out a scroll, put it on the ground, and started to seal it. Inseong frowned and looked at his seal like this. The technique of protecting the gate of the enchantment. The technique of locking the 8 gates. His hand clapped on the ground, and several buildings similar to temples appeared around Konoha, and then a protective cover surrounded Konoha. Defensive barrier. Don't you want people to come out here? You are too underestimated by Konoha. Inseong looked back at the protective shield surrounding Konoha and said, "Lord Tsunade." Inseong went alone to block the enemy, and the enemy surrounded Konoha with a defensive barrier. Mute hurriedly reported to Tsunade, who sat on a chair with his hands together and his chin supported, "Upgrade the 2nd level alert to the 1st level alert, and then send those 2 people to support Inseong." "Those 2? I know." Mute nodded and ran out immediately. Today's 5th update for rewards, for recommendations, for monthly tickets for support. During the support period, there are 6 updates every day. Next episode preview. What is this black flame? Amaterasu. 2 words came out of her mouth. "I didn't expect senior sister to be in such a hurry and actually sent you here. It seems that I have to teach senior sister a lesson." Next chapter, Umbu Ninja. End of this chapter. Chapter 135, Dark Female Ninja. Chapter 135, Umbu, Female Ninja. Boom! The ground suddenly rose up on both sides of Inseong and rushed towards Inseong, trying to crush Inseong. Bump! 2 rocks stopped on both sides of Inseong, and a knife was in the middle of the rocks. "Carving bugs also want to kill me." Inseong held Queenie in his hand. Queenie stopped the 2 rocks abruptly. "As long as I'm here, you won't be able to take a step into Konoha today, the barrier gate. I also accepted the technique of protection. Thank you for the gift." "Who are you?" The big man who used 2 dun took 2 steps forward and looked at Inseong. Inseong took Quenlei back, looked at the 4 people in front of him, Konoha Ninja. The 4 looked at each other again and put away the scrolls on the ground. Inseong noticed who put away the scrolls, and the 4 rushed towards Inseong. They were surrounded by it. "Unlike you, I am attacking the barrier." Inseong smiled and crawled out of the barrier with a lot of wooden figures, attacking the 4 of them. "The enemy is trapped in the barrier," Kazuki Izumo said happily after seeing it above. "It's not that bad, Inseong." "What is this?" The 4 people in the enchantment immediately fought against these wooden figures, using all kinds of fancy ninjutsu. In Xiang knew that the enchantment should not be able to control them for a long time. So this is not the purpose of the world, is just to understand their ninjutsu. In the enchantment, there are 3 people fighting. One is called Shifu, who uses Earth Escape ninjutsu. A woman called No Wind uses ninjutsu with 5 attributes of chakra, and the other is using enchantment just now. The person, who is also a woman, is called Fuyuan, who uses trap ninjutsu and Earth Escape ninjutsu. She is a rare trap master, but there is one person who has never shot, standing in the middle of the 3 of them, a white people with long hair. This kid is here to observe our ninjutsu. He looked into In Xiang's eyes and understood In Xiang's intentions, but it was too late to understand. Their ninjutsu with long white hair had all been displayed in front of In Xiang and consumed a lot of chakra. Quickly find a weakness of the barrier. If you continue like this, you will be consumed by these wooden figurines, Buffing said while beating inside the barrier. Even if these wooden figurines were smashed to pieces, they kept standing up from the ground and were completely beaten. Immortal. In Xiang, what's the matter? Beside In Xiang, 2 black, cloaked umbu fell. One of them was Jiumalu. I'm stuck. I didn't expect senior sister to send you here. In Xiang looked at the other umbu beside him. In her pupils, a pair of scarlet eyes slowly rolled. Do you want to kill it? Under the mask, she heard a very nice woman's voice. Get rid of it. You can attack the inside from the outside. In Xiang nodded. With a seal on his hand, all the wooden figures disappeared with a touch. Her ninjutsu would hurt her wooden figures, and she couldn't. Under repair. What are you doing? These wooden figurines have disappeared. Quickly find the exit of the enchantment. Fudo shouted when he saw the wooden figurines disappear. Be quiet. What is the other party's purpose? The one standing between them quietly looked at the 3 In Xiangs, and the 4 of them gradually quieted down, staring at the 3 In Xiangs outside the barrier. Do it. In Xiang glanced at the female umbu and said. Her scarlet eyes slowly turned, turning into a triangle, and a black flame hit the barrier, directly burning the 4 of them. What is this? They tried their best to put out the flames, but they couldn't put out at all. The enchantment burned and turned into pieces. The 4 of them rolled on the ground without any image. The wailing of the sound finally turned into a mass of ashes. Amaterasu, under the mask of Umbu Ninja, she gently spit out 2 words. Oops, you burned the enchantment scroll. In Xiang looked at the ashes on the ground, licked the corner of his mouth, and forgot about it. Why didn't you say it earlier? Umbu Ninja looked at In Xiang and said impatiently. It's still such a hot temper. In Xiang smiled and shook his head. The buildings around Konoha also sank to the ground, and the defensive barrier disappeared. Their strength is not strong. Why are you so nervous? Jiumalu glanced at Ashes and said helplessly. There is a person whose ninjutsu has not been used. I am afraid that this attack is mainly due to him, but his ninjutsu was killed before he could use it. In Xiang said, Go back, it will be all right. In Xiang grabbed the shoulders of the 2 of them and used the Flying Thunder God to return to Gunma Shiranui. Is it all resolved? Shei Gunma saw the 3 of them coming back and said, because of the Black Knight, none of them could see the black flame. Well, it's a pity. I only know that the other 3 are called Fufu, Fufeng, and Fuyuan, and the other one doesn't know. In Xiang nodded and took the Feilei Shun Kuai handed over by Shiranui Gunma. At the same time, 4 coffins appeared in Konoha. After the coffins were opened, the people inside came out, but they fell to the ground before they took a few steps. Asma happened to be here and recognized these people as the 4 Thunder Ninjas were the 4 who once guarded the 12 ninjas. Because the practitioners had already died, they also died again. Is Hokage directly under Umbu? Gunma Shiranui looked at In Xiang and said to the 2 beside him, White, dark. The 2 gave their code names to Gunma Shiranui. After In Xiang left Umbu, this female ninja took In Xiang's place and became the new Umbu, and her information was kept secret from everyone. Only Tsunade and In Xiang knew her identity, as well as the dead for the 3rd generation. Even Danzo didn't know her information, not even the existence of this person. In Xiang didn't expect Tsunade to be so impatient this time. so he photographed her directly. This is a big killer and a big trouble. The next step is to wait for the power to recover. I'll leave it to you here. Let's go back and report first. In Xiang said to Shiranui Xuanma, who nodded, and the three In Xiang disappeared in front of him. The three came to Tsunade's office. At this time, Tsunade, Mute, and Sakura, as well as Naruto and Akong were all here. You're awake. How are you feeling? In Xiangshin looked at Akong and said, What have you done to me? I feel my whole body is relieved a lot. Akong looked at his hands and said, I'll explain this later, senior sister. Those 4 people have already been killed. Just wait for the power to recover, and the enchantment has also been torn off, but unfortunately, I couldn't get the scroll of the enchantment. In Xiang looked at Ganghan and said, End of this chapter, Chapter 136, Naruto's House. Chapter 136, Naruto's House. Also, senior sister, I have to teach you a lesson this time, too. In Xiang punched the table, and the table shattered with a bang. Mute and Sakura immediately pulled Naruto and Akong out when they saw this. It was not the first time In Xiang had done such a thing. What? Are you going to teach me a lesson again? Tsunade stood up from the chair and shouted to In Xiang. Her identity is Konoha's secret second only to Naruto. How could you send her here? In Xiang pointed at Ankara and shouted at Tsunade. You kid is so embarrassed to talk about me. But let you know Naruto. Tsunade punched In Xiang's head and shouted, In Xiang held his head and looked at Tsunade dissatisfiedly. So what? After Naruto knows my identity, he will only work harder. Then we will cancel this time. Tsunade shouted at In Xiang. But you can't let her take risks anymore. If someone finds out this time, wouldn't it be bad? Itachi's all efforts will be in vain. I see. You boy, this is the 5th time you have broken my table. This time you must accompany a better one. Old rules, you understand. Tsunade shouted, stepping on the shards on the table. I see, In Xiang said, hugging his head in fright. Kumalu and In looked at each other, both helpless. It was you who had to teach people a lesson first, but you were still so scared. After dealing with the 2 of them, Tsunade also called them in, and Asma also came at this time to report the matter of the 4 people of Rairin. 4 people, 2 women and 2 men. One is called Buffung, who uses 5 attributes of chakra. One is called Bean, is a trap master, and she uses the spirit formation technique. And one is called Fufu, who uses earth escape very well. Great, the other one, with long white hair, a scar on his face, and a black cane on his hand, they called him a descendant, but he didn't use his abilities. In Xiang made an oral report to Tsunade. The 4 coffins are the 4 people of Lei Run, Beizi, Nanwu, Shidu, and Dongmao, who were once the guardians of the 12 Renren. The stolen coffins are them. They were resurrected by reincarnation, but it may be because In Xiang killed the practitioners, and they died before they spoke. Asma also explained their situation. I'm still evil. In Xiang rolled his eyes and complained in his heart after hearing their names. I think their original plan was to use the powers of the Thunder Ninjas and the Thunder Dream Thunder to destroy Konoha in an instant. Asma and the others used to be the guardians of the 12 ninjas, knowing their ability. If that's the case, their backup plan is Akong. In Xiang looked at Akong. What do you say? Tsunade looked at In Xiang and asked. The person who never took the shot. I have looked at each other for a long time. His eyes are very similar to Akong. I think that may be Akong's father. In Xiang looked at Akong. Akong was shaking all over after a while. He also had contact with that person. And Asma was also stunned. Hippo? Is that his name? Hearing Asma's words, In Xiang raised his eyebrows. Does anyone have such a name? Yes, horses, not hippos. Asma explained. I see. Then this hippo has 9-tailed chakra implanted in Kong's body. If the plan of the 4 of them fails, they will find a way to get the 9-tailed in Kong's body. To destroy Konoha. In Xiang nodded, but still called him Hippo. 9 tails? Akong frowned, not understanding what it meant. That's why you're scary. The unknown power in your body. In Xiang didn't know that Akong was from the Temple of Fire, but he had heard of his unknown power. You mean, my father is in my body? Akong's eyes widened, unable to believe these words. But don't worry, that thing has now been pulled out. In Xiang nodded, but at this time he noticed Naruto's lost expression. he was also sealed by his father with 9 tails. Although Naruto's body is also sealed with 9 tails, but this is to protect the village and Naruto. But your father is different. He is just to let go to kill for protecting the village. Naruto, you can understand. Would you like to? In Xiang said, looking at Naruto. Naruto listened to In Xiang's words, stunned for a moment, and then laughed. Ah, of course, if it is to protect the village, even if it is sealed for me again, I am willing. Tsunade smiled when he heard Naruto's words. If Naruto thought so, that would be great. What are you going to do, Akong? I'll kill your father. In Xiang looked at Akong with no expression on his face. The next morning, Akong left Konoha. He didn't take action against In Xiang. After learning about these things, Akong didn't hate In Xiang so much, and Konoha's power was restored. Because of In Xiang haven't been attacked. Naruto, come to practice. If you dare to slack off, I won't forgive you. In Xiang shouted behind Naruto, who had just sent Akong away. Come on, brother. Naruto waved his hand towards In Xiang and ran over. Shouting behind Naruto smiled. And Naruto finally had a family. In Xiang took Naruto into the training ground in the woods and started training Naruto. First of all, he wanted to teach Naruto that the nature of the wind attribute chakra has changed. If Naruto can't master this, then don't mention the spiral hand. Legion. After training until noon, Naruto was already tired and out of breath. Of course, In Xiang was not idle, doing his own training. In Xiang, I brought you lunch. Tian ran over from a distance, holding a basket in his hand that contained lunch. Oh, Tian is here, Naruto shouted after seeing Tian. What do you want to be called? In Xiang said, looking at Naruto. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law, Naruto shouted to Tian, who had just come before them. Huh? Tian gasped, his face flushed. Really, it's not at that level yet. What are you screaming about? Huh? It's rare to see Tian blushing. It was the first time Naruto saw Tian being so twitchy. Okay, it's a matter of time. In Xiang took the basket from Tian's hand. Then, let's eat, Naruto. In Xiang threw the basket to Naruto, and Naruto took it steadily after staying in the basket. After opening it, there are 3 points of ramen inside. Oh, it's ramen, but did you make it yourself? Naruto took out 3 servings of ramen from the basket and placed them on the stone in front of him. That's right. Tian nodded, sat around the stone with In Xiang, and the 3 started to eat. Oh, it's delicious, Naruto shouted while holding the ramen, and then speeded up his meal. Slow down, we won't rob you. In Xiang looked at Naruto. The guy's appearance hasn't changed at all. Ha! Tian watched Naruto's food and laughed. In Xiang also followed Tian, and the whole family was very happy. End of this chapter, Chapter 137. Feel the Spiral Shuriken. Chapter 137. Feel the Spiral Shuriken. Ah, it looks like you know each other. Kakashi's figure appeared behind In Xiang. In Xiang looked back. Brother Kakashi, you're back. In Xiang saw Kakashi and smiled. Kakashi is in In Xiang's heart, and he is also a family member. It can be said that he was raised by Kakashi. Well, look at this. Naruto's new moves can be handed over to you, Kakashi said while looking at the mess around him. Well, just leave it to me. I will let him master the spiral shuriken as soon as possible. In Xiang nodded and stood up for the ground. Brother Kakashi, let's go over there and talk. Yeah. Kakashi nodded and walked a little further with In Xiang. What? You have to hide from us. Naruto looked at In Xiang and Kakashi with a bowl. It's probably a secret mission of Shangnin. Don't worry about it. Tian said to Naruto. Naruto nodded, but he didn't take it to heart. What's the matter? Akatsuki's movements. In Xiang asked Kakashi, looking at him. Many places have been attacked by the duo again. I'm afraid it won't be long before they come to the country of fire. Kakashi looked at Naruto and said, the method of shadow avatar cultivation is very useful. With me on the side to restore Naruto's physical strength and the 9 tails in his body, the cultivation will be much faster. In addition to my experience, at most 1 week, I will put the spiral in the hand. The sword is taught to Naruto. In Xiang nodded. Well, then I'll leave it to you. Kakashi nodded. I'll call Yamato over to suppress 9 tails chakra. It's okay. Don't call Tianzong. I won't mess around in the Nine Tails. In Xiang smiled at Kakashi. Oh, then the next training step is to use the wind to cut off the waterfall. It always needs his help, right? No, I'll let Naruto experience the spiral shuriken, so I think Naruto can understand a little more. It takes years to master the changes in chakra attributes. Even a genius like Sasuke takes several days. Naruto's words. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Don't worry, I have a solution. In Xiang smiled. Then I'm curious about what solution you used. Kakashi also smiled. After a few people finished eating, the training started. Naruto, then I'll let you feel the spiral shuriken and use multiple shadow clones. In Xiang said to Naruto. Okay. Naruto nodded, then immediately used multiple shadow clones, creating dozens of shadow clones. Then I'll go first. Tian picked up the tableware and said to In Xiang, okay, be careful on the road. In Xiang nodded, smiled at Tian, and then left. Let all shadow clones use spiral pills. In Xiang said to Naruto, what are you doing? Kakashi said to In Xiang, leaning against the shade of a tree. You watch first. In Xiang turned back and smiled at Kakashi. Naruto also used the spiral pill on the side, and after the 50 shadow clones used the spiral pill, they became 25. Multiple shadow clones. In Xiang took a seal on his hand and divided 25 clones. Standing beside each Naruto, Kakashi's eyes widened. Where did In Xiang come from so many investigations? Carrot. All In Xiang put their hands under Naruto's hand using the spiral pill, and then slowly raised them. 25 spiral shurikens slowly appeared in Naruto's hands, and were raised above their heads by In Xiang and Naruto. But don't throw it around. Kakashi looked at this scene and raised his eyebrows. If you toss these 25 S-rank ninjutsu at random, half of the Konoha will be blown up. It's amazing. Naruto looked at the spiral shuriken in his hand and felt the power inside. I'm holding it in your hand now, so you won't feel much side effects. After the shadow clone is lifted, a lot of the feeling of using the spiral shuriken will enter your mind. You have to grasp the feeling of this moment. In Xiang said to Naruto. Okay. Naruto nodded. In Xiang slowly put down his hand, and the spiral shuriken in Naruto's hand also slowly disappeared. After In Xiang's shadow clone disappeared, Naruto's shadow clone also disappeared. People suddenly became sweaty, and In Xiang naturally did the same. In an instant, I gained a lot of experience, Naruto said, feeling the things in his mind. Then just practice, you're exhausted. In Xiang sat on the ground. Kakashi walked behind In Xiang and patted In Xiang's shoulder. Where did you get so many chakras? Envy it. In Xiang looked at Kakashi and smiled wickedly. Envy is envy. Have you practiced some ninjutsu to improve chakra? Teach me. Kakashi stared at In Xiang and said, no, if there is, I'll be the first to tell you. In Xiang shook his head and said, then you, hey, can't I have some secrets yet? Naruto will leave it to me. You go to rest. In Xiang stood up from the ground and said to Kakashi. Kakashi gave In Xiang a dead fish eye. Okay, talk about it when you want to say it, then I'll go. Kakashi nodded and disappeared in front of In Xiang's eyes. Wind escape. Spiral shuriken. Naruto immediately used the shadow clone and then began to experiment with the spiral shuriken. First, the spiral pill appeared, and then Naruto tried to add the wind escape chakra attribute to it. As expected, he was using his body to experience it. After that feeling, you'll be very experienced, and there's a slight wind escape from the spiral pill in Naruto's hand, but it quickly dissipates. I can't be in a hurry. You can rest today, and we'll continue tomorrow. In Xiang said to Naruto, that's all you need to do today. But I want to practice more. Naruto looked at In Xiang and said, no. If you continue like this, the nine-tailed chakra will be brought out by you, and the entire Konoha will be gone. In Xiang said seriously to Naruto, but this is completely fooling Naruto. He has his own. If the Kurama convinces Naruto's body, he will not come out to make trouble. Also, Naruto nodded. Then let's go here today. Well, let's go. I'll treat you to another meal. In Xiang walked up to Naruto and patted Naruto on the shoulder.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.